Welcome one and all to the Introduction to Publisher class. We are so excited to introduce this class because Publisher, in my opinion, gets a little bit of a bad rap because it's a pretty great program. It can do a lot more than meets the eye, and it's a little more affordable than some of the other layout programs out there. So what are we going to learn in this amazing class? We're going to start off by just kind of talking about what you can do with Publisher. And we're going to talk about kind of where to find things within the program, exploring the interface, how we can customize the interface, including the quick access toolbar and the ribbon. Okay? And then we're going to get really deep into working with type and typography. We're going to talk about images and how we can work with images and type together. But we're really going to do a nice deep dive into how we can actually enhance and edit our photos with really the greatest of ease, but to really have a pretty tremendous impact. We also talk about master pages. We get into design techniques. We get into all kinds of different styles, right? How we can work with styles, create styles. We can edit our styles. Okay, and what are these styles? These styles are going to be basically saved formats for us. All right? Then we get into some of our additional elements, some more graphic elements, like our building blocks and our page parts. We get into shapes, right? We get into all good things. We get into headers and footers. Okay, lots and lots of fun. And then finally, towards the end, we show you how to create bookmarks, tables, and then finally, publish this puppy, right? Make it live, okay? Make everything into a PDF so you can share it in whichever way you want to share it. And just a quick note, don't forget to download all the class files from the link below in the description. And keep in mind, this class is meant to be very interactive. So occasionally you'll hear me say, hey, pause the video and practice up. So that's the time for you to really exercise your learning, exercise what we just covered to see you put it to use. Okay? So enjoy, have fun, and stay tuned for the next lesson. And welcome back. In this first video of the lesson, we're going to start off by just kind of giving you a little tour of the program, taking a little kind of roadmap and run through how to navigate the program, where things are, what things are called, how we can kind of change the view of things, and kind of setting ourselves up for the rest of the class. Now, what we're going to do in the following lesson is how to customize things. So let's just first kind of talk about what things are called and where things are located. First part I want to talk about is up here called the ribbon. So this whole area known as the ribbon, also known as the toolbar, right, allows us to navigate through all different kinds of features and functions and tasks within the program. Okay, and you're going to notice that it's broken down by a few different other items that we can break things down with. So you can see here I have my tabs up on top here, like my home tab, insert, etc. And each of these are clickable. And when you click on them, you're going to notice that there's another component of the ribbon called the groups. You can see here is the clipboard group, the font group, okay? Here is the paragraph group, etc. I go to another tab, you can see here's the page setup group, and it goes on from there for all of these. Okay. Now, one other item that a lot of people sometimes ignore, they just don't see it, or it just seems like, hey, you know what? I don't even know what that is. I'm just going to ignore it, is the dialog box launcher. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that so you can really see this kind of little dimple thing here. You see that right there? They're kind of all over the place. Sometimes they're lit up, sometimes they're not. It just depends on what you've clicked on. So if I click on this, notice these guys get lit up. So as the name implies, it will launch dialog boxes. So if I click on this right now, you can see it's going to take me to a dialog box all around fonts, right? See font and font. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that. You'll see here, if I go over to here to, let's just say page design, there's one for page setup. Now, what does this dialog box launcher do? Besides being very hard to say quickly, is going to give you extra options, okay? Options that maybe you haven't seen before, right? On the ribbon itself. Maybe it'll give you options that are a little bit easier to work with, right? So we'll be exploring all these things here, but it's just good to know that you have additional options that you may not actually see here on the ribbon itself. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my home tab. Now, the other part of the ribbon that is very, very important to note is going to be what we call contextual tabs, right? Particularly when you're working with kind of things like images and text boxes and possibly tables and graphs. So watch what happens now. I'm going to go ahead and click on this image right here. And you'll notice that I now have a new tab called Picture Format. Let's go ahead and do it for our family reunion. Notice this actually brings up two additional contextual tabs, the shape format and the text box. Okay, so depending on what you're actually working with, you may get an additional set of contextual tabs available, right? So when I click on this, I'm going to get, guess what? A whole bunch of different options around this, Go to my images, and you can see picture format, whole bunch of different options around that. So I'm going to go ahead and click away, and then notice how it then goes away. Okay, that is going to be a very, very, very important thing to understand, because it's going to allow you to then get deeper and more complex, more sophisticated with whatever tasks you want to carry out on that particular object that you've just clicked on. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that in a nutshell is the first part of our ribbon. You'll also notice that is here our file menu. And our file menu does a lot of our basic kind of administrative items, like you can see here I can do a new document, which we'll be doing momentarily. Okay, opening up documents, right? Our info around this document. So I want to click on that, and you'll just notice it's going to give me all kinds of good information about the document. Okay, the name of the document. You can see here where it's located, the name of the file itself. You can see here, I can see how many pages there are. Okay, you can see, bam, the size of it. Okay, when it was first saved, when it was last saved, right? All kinds of good stuff here. Okay, and then when you get a little more advanced, you can go ahead and use the design checker to see if there's any problems when you're ready to actually package it and send it off to your printer potentially. Okay, so there's a lot of really good stuff here. Here is save, save as. Your print options will be here. You get a nice little dialog box there with the preview. Okay, of course, we'll be doing a lot of that later on. Okay, and then you can see here's your share option. You want to email this to people as a PDF, just as an attachment, whatever you'd like to do. Export. How do you want to export this, right? What kind of file format do you want to do it in? PDF, HTML, you can change the file type entirely, all kinds of great stuff here, okay? And then if you are curious and you want to customize things a little bit, you can come down here to your options, way down here in the lower left, and then you can tinker with it. Of course, we'll be getting into that momentarily as we go out throughout the class. Now, at this point, it's really just about kind of getting to know what's even available here. Okay, so that's the ribbon. Now, one thing I want you to understand in terms of how I want us to be set up in this class, and I suggest you being set up, is kind of different elements to be shown as we are going throughout our documents. Okay, so this is part of how we can kind of customize to a certain extent, but this is really even pre-customization. And we're going to do that through the View tab. And I first want to start this off because this is going to allow us to kind of show certain things and maybe not show certain things that are going to be on our screen here. Okay, so the first thing I want you to notice is all of these checkboxes here, right? And notice this grouping here is called show. Do I want this to show or not? Do I want my ruler to show? Absolutely. Notice now I have the ruler there. Okay, that's going to give me a lot of great options for a variety of different things, but at the very least, I know the size of this page, but I know where things are located potentially within context of where it is in the ruler. Later on, we're going to talk about guides and such, and this will really help us to work with our guides. Speaking of guides, I click on that. You'll notice that when I choose that, all these little guides will appear here. Maybe you don't want those, you can very easily turn those off. Okay. You'll also notice here is something called page navigation. I'm going to turn that off. You'll see, oh, look at that. All those little thumbnails then go away, and I can always bring those back, okay? And we're going to learn a little bit more how we can navigate different pages in a little bit, but you can see, in case yours is not showing, very easy to make it appear, very easy to make it disappear, okay? Then we also have the scratch area. What does that mean? This whole area on the side, okay, some programs call it the pasteboard, is known as the scratch area. So let's just say, for example, I wasn't sure if I wanted to use this image. I could bring this over here to my scratch area. Okay? It will not get printed. No one sees this, okay? But it's here if I want it. But why is this checked? It's basically, hey, do I want to see all the stuff in my scratch area or not? So when I turn this off, notice how it then kind of goes away, but it's really there, right? You see that? But if I want to see it again, okay, great. So if you have a lot of things in your scratch area and it starts to get really distracting, that's when you may just disable this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring that back. And there I am, okay. Excellent, very good. All right, and we'll maybe check out some of these other things as we go forward. Now, within your View tab, you'll see that there's different ways to view your document. You can see here a single page. Maybe you don't want to have it looking more like a book. You can do it just like this. So it's very easy to change that. Okay, or you can go over here to two-page spread, just like that. It totally is up to you how your book or your document is going to be presented. That may help you out quite a bit. All right, and later on, we're going to be getting into master pages, so hang tight with that. All right, the next part I want to talk about is how we can kind of view things in terms of our zoom level. Okay, so right now inside of the View tab, I have the ability to view things as 100%, right? Click on whole page, right? It kind of makes the nice kind of best fit view for me. I can also change it. So it's going to be super zoomed in if I want to. Go back to whole page. That's really nice to know you can do that. Page width, right? So it's going to be perfect fit for the page width so I can actually see it and then scroll down if I want to. And then certainly go over to here to whole page. Or if you wanted to even just go to a selected object, right? You can go in and just zoom right into that, which is really nice because rather than having to zoom in kind of a little bit more manually, this allows you to do that. I'm going to go ahead and click on whole page. Now I'm going to go back to my home tab and just say, listen, you know what? I don't want to have to always go to view to zoom in every single time, right? It's a little bit clumsy. So I'm going to go back to home and show you another area that you might want to go to. And this area down here, down below. So you'll notice here I have this little slide ruler, I have this little minus sign, and I have this little plus sign. The little minus sign, of course, zooms out. Plus sign zooms in. Okay, and I can also click and drag this to do this just the same. Okay, you'll also notice that to the far right, I have this little guy right here where it says show whole page. That's the same thing that allows me to have that best fit. Okay, so that's a really, really nice feature just to be able to go there in case like things are getting a little bit crazy. Go ahead and come back here, and then there you are, and you're back to your best fit. Okay, the other part you'll see here is, once again, the 2-page versus the 1-page view. Totally up to you, but just note that it's going to be over there in the lower right every time you need it. Okay? So just really good stuff just to understand how to navigate throughout the program, how to actually work with everything. I'd say one last thing I'll tell you is just very quickly, if you ever need to get any help on anything, this help menu actually really does a nice job. You can click on help. You'll notice here this little sidebar comes up and you can just go ahead and type anything you want. I'll just go ahead and type in tables, right? Something like that. You can see bam, bam, bam. It's like having kind of a built-in search engine just for this program built in to the program itself. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to home. All right, so what I'm going to suggest is you pause the video, just really get comfortable with the interface. If this is all new to you, some of you may have some review from other Office programs you worked with, right? But it might be a little bit of a departure from what you've worked with in the past, right? Because this is a little bit more complex of a layout program compared to just like a desktop publishing in terms of a word processing program. So you might want to just kind of get used to some of those things, like the contextual tabs, and then kind of looking under the hood a little bit. All right, so pause the video and we will see you in the next lesson. Now that we know a little bit about the workspace interface and we kind of know our way around a little bit, what's going to happen as you kind of get more and more familiar and more comfortable with this program and the types of projects you're going to want to do, you'll want to customize things a little bit. So let's talk about how we can just do some basic customization. So far, we've already talked about how we can do our view tab, and we can also kind of add some of these things on here. We can customize our view. What do we want to show or not show? Our rulers, right? Things like that, right? So we can very easily turn our guides on, turn them off. Okay, we've talked about that. But let's talk about kind of different types of tasks that you might be doing relatively often that you want to have quick and easy access to. So as an example, I feel like I'm bringing in a lot of pictures. I bring in a lot of shapes, right? Maybe I'm bringing in a lot of these building blocks, which are awesome. We're going to talk about in a little bit. I bring in text boxes, all this stuff. And I'm on my home tab and I'm like, man, where is that? I always forget where it is, or it takes way too long to click over here. And then I got to squint my eyes and look for it. It's like, man, where is everything? Oh, bam, there it is. So if you want to have quick access, let's talk about the quick access toolbar to be able to actually have quick access to these. So what is my quick access toolbar? Go ahead and take a look over here in the upper left. You're going to see I have these icons up here. If you move your mouse over, it's going to show you a number of different things, right, that you can actually do. And they kind of give these to you right off the shelf, right? If you click on this little drop down, you can see here, I have all these options that I can then add to my quick access toolbar. I find that I'm constantly doing new documents. I don't like to use keyboard shortcuts. I don't remember where to find it, right? So you can very easily then just say, oh, you know what? Let's add that on there. Cool. Now I have that there. Let's just say I'm doing printing all the time. Great. I can add that on there. Now, in order to go to the next level for me, I would prefer to have this down here below. So what can I do? I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you're going to see way down here is this option to show below the ribbon. And now, not only is this below the ribbon, but it's nice Technicolor, a lot easier to read. So it's closer, and I think it's actually a lot more visible in many more ways than one, right? So I really like this, okay? Now, coming back to our original thought and strategy of, listen, I want to bring in this pictures icon. Every time I want to bring it in, I got to hunt for it. Guess what? If I right click on this or any icon, look at that, add to the quick access toolbar, and look what's sitting there waiting for me. I bring in shapes, right click, first choice. Look at that. What about text boxes? Yep, use those all the time. Bam. Oh, how cool is that? Right? So now, guess what? They're all going to be there for me. Right? If I change my mind, I don't want that. Like I don't use this little touch thing here. I right click on that. Guess what? Instead of add, I got remove, and that goes away. Right? So really cool. And this will change for you. The more you work through the program, the more you can be like, oh, I want to add this on there. I want to add this on there. Now, okay, great. And it's going to be super easy for you to do that. And it's going to make you way more efficient and less stressed out with your process. Okay. Now, next level is, well, you know what? Let's say I want to change the order of these, or let's say I want to add some things on that aren't on the quick, that aren't available in the ribbon, so I can't add them onto the quick access toolbar. Super, super easy. What I'm going to do now is, again, click on my drop down, and I'm going to come over to here to more commands. And when I do that, believe it or not, this takes me to my options. Remember in the last lesson, we went over options. These are going to be all the options that you have available, including one called the Quick Access Toolbar. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to my Quick Access Toolbar tab, and you'll notice that what's waiting for me here is all of the tasks and icons that I actually put on there earlier and the order that they're in right now. So let's say, for example, I'm constantly inserting pictures. I want that to be the first thing. So very easily, come over to here, bump that up. Fantastic, that's great. Shapes also, they kind of go hand in hand. Great, I love that there. Okay, wonderful. Now, if we look over here on the left-hand side, you're going to notice how I have the ability to choose more icons, right, from this list. Now, this current list is based off of what we're calling popular commands, right? What are the more commonly used commands? Now, that's what you're going to see here, right? A lot of these things that are probably already available inside of the ribbon. So you don't probably even need to go to these, but maybe this is a better way for you to view them because they're in alphabetical order. So that's pretty cool. All right. So, but if you click on this now, notice how it's filtered in other ways. Commands not on the ribbon, all commands. The file tab, right? Look at that. Oh, that's pretty cool. So you can see every single tab is available here depending on what you are trying to do, right? So I'm going to go over here now to my file tab, and I want you to notice that, you know what? Something that I like to do all the time is publish as PDF. So that's actually not on the ribbon. So it's not really easy for me to then right click on it. In fact, it's impossible because it doesn't exist. So what I'm going to do is simply choose this, click on add, and now bam, that's going to go right there. What about emailing as a PDF? Cool. I want that. Then I'm going to reorder this, bring that way to the bottom, bring this to the bottom. Great. Super easy. Okay. So anything you want to do, you can do. Anything you want to add into your quick access toolbar, you can 100% add it. Customize your experience. Okay. Now, the last thing we're going to do in terms of the quick access toolbar is show you potentially you may change your mind. You may inherit somebody else's computer, right? Maybe you're just going a whole different direction altogether. You can reset the quick access toolbar or all customizations in general, right, that you might be doing. You can also export your customizations. So let's say, for example, you are working on more than one computer, right? And you want to say, listen, I love what I've done on this computer. I want to export it to another computer. You can very easily export these, right? It's going to export it as this type of file, .exported.ui. And then once you've got it on your computer, guess what? You can then import the customization. Okay. So it's pretty slick, really cool. Okay. So go ahead, pause the video, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how you can actually customize the ribbons, right? As you can see here is the ribbon. We're going to learn how to customize the ribbon in the next lesson. All right, so pause the video and we'll come back in just a bit after you practice. Now, as promised, we are going to do a quick lesson on how to customize the ribbon and the tabs. So far, the customization involved working with changing our view to a certain extent, adding on some other elements on there, how we can zoom in, adding on a bunch of other different ways to navigate, our ruler, our guides, etc. And then we also did something with our quick access toolbar. So hopefully you're pretty comfortable with that by now. But let's say we want to customize how the ribbon looks in general, right? Maybe we want to create our own set of icons. Maybe we want to remove some things. So what we can do is customize the ribbon by very simply right-clicking anywhere on the top of the ribbon here, or pretty much anywhere on the ribbon. And you can see here is customize the ribbon. So I do that. And you're going to see that now, instead of Customize Quick Access Toolbar, I'm in the Customize Ribbon tab. And if you look on the right-hand side, you're going to see all of the tabs that I currently have, my Home tab, my Insert, Page Design, all that stuff. Maybe some of you never, ever use mailing, right? So you're just going to turn that off. You say, listen, you know what? I don't want that, so let's just go ahead and turn it off. And it's going to go away as an option over here, right? So, okay, why have it even appear here if it's not something I'm going to use, right? So, okay, great, get rid of it. But I'm not going to do that for now. What I do want you to notice is way down below, I have some options here to then start creating things from scratch, right? So I can actually do a whole new tab if I want to. I can do a whole new group if I want to, right? What are groups? Remember the clipboard group, the font group, all these things are groups, okay? And then of course I can rename them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a new tab, as you can see the process right from the beginning. So I'm going to say new tab, right? And I'm going to name this right off the bat. So I'm going to click on rename. I'm going to say Dave's Faves. There it is, bam. And you'll notice how there are no groups inside here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and now add some stuff inside of it, then rename that group. I'm just going to keep it really simple just so I have one group in there. And then I'm going to click on this drop down and you'll notice here I have all my tab options. So I'm going to go over to here and just show, let's just say all tabs. And I'm going to go over to here to insert. And I know for sure I want to bring in maybe some things that have to do with illustrations. Okay, pictures, great. Add that in there. I know I use that all the time. Shapes, okay, that's great. What about for text? Yep, insert text box. All right, wonderful. Okay, and of course, yours will be whatever it'll be. All right, so then for my new group, right, I'm just going to go ahead and rename that, right? I'm just going to call this graphic stuff. All right, click OK, and pretty great. Then this is all set up. Then I want this to be before the Home tab. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and the whole group will then move to just come right up as it is. That's wonderful. You can see that. And eventually when I click OK, you're going to see it as its own new tab, totally customized by me, for me, in front of the Home tab. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK so we can see it in action. There's Dave's Faves. And look at that. Really nice. Maybe this is the only place you ever go. So you can see how I have everything nice and big, nice and clear for me to come back to anytime I want to. And if I wanted to insert a shape, look at that. There's all my shape options there. Inserting a picture is going to take me to the command to then insert picture. Okay. Now let's just go ahead a step further now. I'm going to go ahead and right click again, customize the ribbon. I'm going to go over here to Dave's Faves, graphic stuff. And let's say I wanted to rename these. And let's say I wanted to just do a different icon altogether. What's so cool about this is it's very easy to rename, like I showed you before. But when I click on rename, check it out. They give me a whole bunch of different options here for me to then change, right, as my actual name, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and just say, what's my display name? I'm going to say images. Okay, it's a little more clear to me and maybe people I'll be working with or whatever it is. Okay, and then you're going to see I have all kinds of different icons to choose from. Not everyone under the rainbow, but you can see there are quite a few. So why don't I just choose like this little palette? Click OK. That's changed. Super easy. Okay, now let's see what that's going to look like. Click OK, and look at that. Images, right? That's all it is just saying images, right? Takes, less space up, etc. Okay, and now finally the last thing I'm going to show you is kind of review of what we did with our quick access toolbar is the ability to then reset it if we want to reset it, and also import, export, just like we did with our quick access toolbar. So it's pretty great. Okay, so really try this out. Really, I want you to get comfortable with it. I want you to really, kind of as you work throughout the program, take advantage of all these little gifts that they give you. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead now just for the purpose of our lessons here. I'm going to remove this. I don't really want this here, right? It's going to add on some kind of, differences between us. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this now. And you'll see how easy it is to do that. I'm going to click OK. That gets reset. Okay. And finally, let me just show you another way you can get to both of those options that I showed you, the quick access toolbar and customizing the ribbon simply by going to File, going over here to Options, and then again, you can see how you can get to them both this way. All right, pause the video, practice, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to start something from scratch, a brand new document. This document obviously has been created before, but how do we create something like this? What's the first step? Very simply, we can just go over here to File and New, and you're going to see I'm going to have all kinds of wonderful options for me to choose from. So if we want to just go right from nothing, clean, empty canvas, we can just simply click on this and you can see just like that, I have just a blank document, right? One page, nothing more, nothing less. Let me come back over to here to File, New, and you'll notice how I have some other options here, right? For landscape, I click on this, you're going to see how that's going to take me to potentially more different sizes, right? Depending on what you are trying to do, right? So there's actually quite a bit depending on what's going on here. Maybe you're going to be doing a trifold, maybe doing a giant poster, right? Something like that, okay? Now, you will notice that as you're choosing these, right, I want you to notice at the right-hand side, things kind of change up a little bit, right? You can see it's giving me a little preview of it, but it also gives you something that maybe you haven't seen before in other types of programs, which is the ability to actually choose different customization options, like your color theme, right? So I choose this, right? I'll just choose desert. Okay, that's great. What about my font scheme? Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see color scheme and font scheme. You can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to here and then, all right, cool. So what are these? We're actually seeing two different fonts, right? One is going to be our heading font. One is going to be our main body font. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and choose one that's relatively obvious. Let me just choose that one. So you can see Copperplate and Garamond. Okay, very good. Some of you may be doing like business information, like you're doing a letter or a business card, something like that. So you might want to actually create some business information for yourself there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just click on Create now, and we're going to see what happens, right? Nothing really as far as I can tell, but now if I'm going to go ahead and just bring in some text, right? So let's just go ahead and just go to Insert, and I'll just go ahead and just draw out a text box. All right, I want you to notice, look at that. Here is Garamond. Oh, no surprises there. Okay, so I go ahead and just say welcome. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. I'm going to come over here to home, and I want you to notice there's something here called styles. And then you're going to see that every one of these, right, these kind of bigger guys here are all, guess what? Copperplate Gothic. All right. So when you set this up, you're basically setting yourself up for consistency, okay, using these types of font schemes. Okay. So pretty cool, right? So if I go ahead and just add on a shape here, click on that, and you're going to see here, there's my shape. And why is that brown? Remember the color scheme I chose. Let's go over here to the font fill and look at that. All of those colors that I chose in there are now going to be part of that. Okay. As we move forward, we're going to get a little bit deeper and we're going to talk about the page design, and we're going to see, look at that, all those options that I had before, I can very easily come back and change. Okay. Very good. So that's a little taste of what we're going to get in just a little bit. All right. Now let's go back to where we were. I'm going to click on File and then New. And then I just was tinkering around with all of these up on top. But I do want you to notice how there's a whole bunch of other little kind of off-the-shelf types of things that you can be working with. Publication types. Oh, look at that. I'm doing an advertisement. I'm doing a booklet. I'm doing a business card. Name tags. Well, let's see what's living inside of this. Let's go ahead and choose poster. What? Okay. These are all pre-built, different sizes, and potentially different color schemes for different posters that you might want to do. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, let's do another one. Let's look at something dramatically different, which is going to be business cards. Look at the size of that, 3.5 inches, right? Look at that, European size, East Asian size. Okay, that'll really help you out. So you don't have to really like, well, how big is a business? How big is a business card? You can do that really easily through some of these built-in templates. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to home. Okay, so these are essentially templates for different sizes, but let's check out like templates in terms of some nice, really cool pre-built options like these guys down below for a thank you card, a birthday poster, right? Address labels. Holy cow. Look at all of these options here. Okay, so if I decide I want to just choose like, I don't know, an event flyer, I click on that. It's going to give me a nice little overview, a little synopsis of what it is, how big it is, right? I can obviously see a preview of it, and then I can click on create, and guess what? I own this, right? They did all the work, and then I can put in all my content very easily, okay? And then, bam, I now take all the credit, okay? For all of this work. It's really great. I have all this stuff there. Fantastic, okay? Let's take a look at another option. I go over here to File, New. And I want you to notice how there is also this search online for templates, okay? And you'll also notice that right below is all kinds of different suggestions, right? Depending on what you're trying to do, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and type out posters. I know I need to make posters, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on posters, and look at that. Some nice pre-built posters. Okay, it's kind of nice. Let's try newsletter, okay? Okay. Really nice, right? A lot of things that I don't want to have to do, I can do. You can see there's our family reunion one right there. Oh, that's kind of cool, right? And so if I choose any of these, let me just go ahead and go to that one. Again, you get the same nice little synopsis, the same nice little preview. I click on create, downloading the template. And now, guess what? This is a, holy cow, 6 pages all set up with everything ready for me to go, right? For me to put in my own content, right? Change the images out, do whatever you want to do, change the text, of course, whatever you want to do. Okay, in a little bit, we're going to talk about all of the colors and designs and all that stuff within this respect. But you can see how easy it is to work with these pre-built templates, whether you're just starting off with, you know, a size and that's all you care about, or basically it could be an idea of a project you want. Okay, so again, go to File, New, and you're going to see all the options here. Okay, so just scroll down, check it out, and you'll see a bunch. All right, now this is under the Office, right? So just notice how this is actually 2 different tabs here. So Office basically is, okay, these are going to be kind of online, right? But you also have quite a few that are built in, right? So you can see here, there's quite a bit more. You can see it's kind of same categories, but these are kind of built into the program. They're not necessarily kind of changing all the time. Okay, so maybe you want to do an award certificate, and look at that, yet even more options. Some of these are going to be a little dated, admittedly, right? So kind of take it or leave it, you know, be grateful for the gift. But we can see here, let's maybe look at another one. Let's go ahead and try, I don't know, banners. Okay, it's not too bad. And then let's just go ahead and try one out. And then notice here, just like how we saw with our other options, you can customize these things, right? You can see, bam, right? What colors do you want, right? That might change some of the options there, right? You're going to put in potentially some different page sizes. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of a different one you want to do, right? It'll come in how you want it to be, border, no border, graphics, right? Do you want to have graphics on the left, on the right, both, right? Maybe I just want to have it on the left. Notice how that changes. I click on create, and there you have it. Okay, and of course you'll be able to customize all this stuff. We're going to get in a little bit deeper how you can do this stuff manually, but it's just really good to know how many options are really kind of hiding in plain sight, right? So all these things here, you can see there's a lot more built into here when you click on this. There's a lot going on here, but you can very easily do a search in here, and you can also check out some other ones in the built-in tab. All right, so really get familiar with these. You're going to find your favorites that you come to all the time, and experiment, save it, have fun with it, practice, 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 and we'll see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're just going to jump right into working with some of these design elements that I alluded to and gave a quick little demonstration on, because that is going to be incredibly important for both efficiency and consistency throughout your document. Okay, so when I talk about efficiency and consistency, I'm talking mostly about your color scheme and with your font scheme. It's a very good idea to stay within that scheme after you've created something. Okay, and when I say stay with it, I don't mean you have to always have the same exact scheme. I mean throughout the document, you should have your scheme be consistent. Okay, so I want you to notice here, here's this poster I had here that I changed the text for. That was super easy. But if I wanted to actually change the color scheme of this, I can very easily do that by going over here to my page design. Okay, now page design actually shows you quite a few options that you can do, like changing your margins, changing your orientation, right? Super easy to do that. Bring that back here, right? So, you know, we don't need to spend too much time on that, but just notice these options here. Okay, again, you'll also notice here some options for guides and objects, but that's how we're aligning things, right? So that's just some kind of nice little administrative things you might want to do. All right, but what I'm concerned with here, again, is my colors and my fonts. So you'll notice here, this particular document has this Office 2007-2010 Office color scheme. Okay, so watch what happens now if I choose aspect. Watch what happens when I choose median. Watch what happens when I choose metro. See that? So they are changing. Look at this. There's even more. Holy cow. Let's go over here to that. Okay. Mom loves red and pink. Look at that. And I've just changed it kind of globally. All right. So really very, very cool. Now, if I click on this little drop down, you're going to see that I do have the ability to create a new color scheme if I wanted to altogether. Right, so you can see here they are, right? Main, accent, 1, 2, 3. They're not labeled all that great, but you might be able to see some context of how these things are organized, right? Some of them might be a little more obvious than others, but if you know you want to focus on certain colors, you can very easily change these, okay? And then you would rename it, call it whatever you want, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just add on maybe a little bit of purple right there, okay? And then I'll just say Mom's Theme. Okay, click on save. Okay, and then bam, there's Mom's Theme. Okay, into here. All right. And what changes, I will admit, they don't necessarily do a great job of making it so things are going to actually change. Let's go to here. Let's go to this. There we go. That changes it. So it does give you a nice little preview. Okay, so this is going to be Mom's Theme 2. Okay. There it is. Cool. So now I can actually go back and forth between these two. All right. Next level, what you might want to do is change your fonts altogether. Okay. So if I go over to here, look at that. Here is my fonts themes that I chose earlier on, but then I changed my mind, and look at this. I click on that and then watch this, how it all changes. All right, let's go over to here to this one. Okay, great. Kind of looking pretty good. Let's try another one. Okay, pretty good. Maybe I want to change the size of that. That's not a problem. Okay, good. All right, excellent. I like it, not sure if I love it. So what I can do is come over to here and then create a new font scheme. I choose that, and then guess what? This is going to be way easier, way more straightforward than the last thing we did, because guess what? Here are all the fonts, right? So this is going to be my heading font, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just choose one. Let's go to this one right there. I like that one. Okay, cool. And then instead of Georgia, I'll just choose one that's relatively easy to read. Let's just choose CAL, just type that in, Calibri. I'm just gonna just call that Babus Calibri and click save. All right, and then look at that, beautiful. I have now changed that, okay? And you'll see there is my theme that I just added. So I can very easily go back and forth between this, and it's as good as done, okay? So just think about if you're working for a company and they want you to use a certain type of font, certain color scheme, this is the way to work with things. So what this is going to do is now take us into something very, very important that we're going to talk about in an upcoming lesson called styles. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this Mother's Day, and I want you to notice now when I go over to here to the Home tab, I click on Styles. I want you to notice everything here now, right? So associated with the font that I've chosen, right? You can see, bam, there's heading 1. Okay, that's great. I click on this, click on Styles. Okay, there is date of event. Okay, that's a preset style. So watch what happens now when I choose my page design. I'm going to go a completely different direction. I go back to Mother's Day, go back to Home, go back to Styles, and look at that. Everything changes. Let's go back to page design. Let's change my fonts to something completely different. Okay, I choose that, and actually get one so it's going to fit. Okay, that's great. Then I go back to my Home, go over here to Styles, and look at that. Completely different. Okay, so remember the two words I gave you, consistency and efficiency, right? We want consistency all throughout the document, and we want efficiency to be able to change the document. Okay, now you'll see this even more so when you're working on very large documents. Okay, so you're going to see here, I'm going to change this to something completely different. Notice how that changes, but it also changes across the board here. Okay, you can see, look at these fonts. Let's change it to something completely different. And notice, look at that, consistency and efficiency, right? Because I was able to do it so quickly. And look at that, this is a 6-page document. Because I'm working with all of these styles, I'm doing it the right way. Because I'm working with my page design and incorporating all the style elements in there, it's going to allow me to do it faster. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a departure of how most of you have done this before, but this is how the program wants you to work with it. Working with styles, working with our design elements for, again, efficiency and consistency all throughout your document. So therefore, you don't have to change things up piecemeal and do it manually. All right. So download a bunch of files to work with from the templates, experiment with different color schemes, different fonts, and you're going to watch how amazing it is to be able to make quick and easy changes, right? And then after you make those changes, come back over to here to your styles dropdown. You'll be able to see all those options, then follow suit. All right, pause the video, practice this, get this concept into your head more than anything, because for a lot of you, this is probably a whole new idea. Okay, we'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back, everybody. In this lesson, we're just going to show you some basics of starting a blank new document and then building up from there, adding on new pages, adding on some elements, and then working on some other documents from some templates and how we can add on some pages there. And that's going to take us nicely into this discussion about master pages and about sections and all kinds of good things. They're going to allow our document to become a little bit more kind of feature rich and better organized for us. So how do I create a new document? Super easy. Go to File, go to New, and I'm just going to start off with this really simple 8.5 by 11. And here I am with one page all ready to go and ready to be added to. Okay, now earlier we did talk about the option of, the different designs. If you want to change any of these things here, you can change any of these things here if you want to, totally up to you. You can even add on a background if you want to, right? You can do all kinds of wonderful things from here if you like, right? So, okay, look at that. Now I've got a background. I'm going to go ahead and do Control Z to undo, because what I'm going to do initially is very simply add on some new pages, right? So let's go back to home, and I'm just going to right click on my blank page here and very simply choose Insert Page. And it's going to ask me a number of questions. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You can see the first thing is, how many pages do you want? I'm going to add on 3 pages, so I'll change that a little bit. Where do you want the page to end up? Okay, you can see here, after current page. Sure, that's fine with me. And then also you have here this option to say, well, do you want to have blank pages? Do you want to create a text box after each page, on each page? And or do you want to duplicate all objects on that page, right? So totally up to you what you want to do, right? I don't have any objects on there, so I'm not going to choose that. But what I do want is a text box on each page. If I chose blank pages, then I wouldn't have the ability to put any text on there until I put in a text box. So this is going to save me a lot of steps. So I'm just going to go ahead and say 3, click on OK, and then bam, there you have it. Very easy to do. All right, now let's go back to what I was showing you before, where I'm just going to say Page Design, add on a background, and I'll just put on this nice, pretty blue color. Great, there that is, right? But you'll notice it only goes on to one of the pages, all right? But let's say, for example, I'm looking at this and I want to add it on to all of these pages. Okay, I'm picking up where I was before, where I'm not going to have the background. So here I'm speaking now. Let's cut this part off. Okay, so now I have 4 pages. Excellent. Now let's just put in a little bit of content here. So this is going to be our first lesson on working with shapes. If you've never done this before, let's just say, for example, I just want to have a little banner here. So remember earlier, I added on this ability in my quick access toolbar to add on shapes, all kinds of shapes and sizes available here. If you did not do that, you can always go to Home and choose Shapes right from here if you like. So super simple. Go to here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add in a very simple rectangle, just like that. And you'll notice as soon as I let go, I now have a new contextual tab, as promised, saying Shape Format with all kinds of lovely options. We're going to get into more details on shapes in subsequent lessons, but let's just go ahead and check out some preliminary stuff, like adding in some color for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do this nice light orange. I'm going to say I don't want to have an outline. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and maybe make this a little bit bigger. Okay. And I click away, and there you have it. Okay. And you'll notice here's my preview, and then you can see here this is as well. And I can very easily bring this down if I want to. And then notice my preview will eventually catch up to it. Okay. So pretty straightforward, right? Inserting pages and adding objects to pages. Now let's go ahead and bring in text box to this. And I'm going to see here. All right. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just start typing out summer picnic invitation. Okay. So there you have it. I've started off a new document and I've got some text, but guess what? That text is not that big. So let's go ahead and make that nice and big. So you'll notice that I highlight it, and as soon as I let go, I get this little guy that pops up. Okay. This is going to allow me to have nice quick access to all of these tools that I don't have to go very far to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and make that nice and big. And you'll see, oh, that's great. Or I can even make it go nice and big this way, right? You see that? But what's happening, you can see how this is not tall enough. So fantastic. There you have it. Let's highlight it again. Notice that pops up. It's going to give me all kinds of other options for me to work with. You can see here, I can bring in some different type in there, right? All kinds of lovely options to give me some more kind of creativity and more flair to what I'm working on. Okay, and again, let's make this a little bit taller. So maybe put these on different lines, just hitting the Enter key. Great, and there you have it. Okay, so that's just bringing in some basic text. All right, so now I have this document, I'm all ready to go, but you know what? I decide this is actually going to be on the second page. The first page is going to be maybe a cover sheet. Maybe there's going to be some kind of explainer text or something like that. So how do I get this to be on the second page? Guess what? All you got to do is simply click and drag and just bring that down. See that? That little orange, that little green line pops up, and there it is. Let's watch it again. See that little green line? Comes back up. Wait for it again. Okay, see that green line? And then bam. So any of these pages can very easily be moved around. Okay, now if you right click on them, some of you probably noticed this earlier when I was doing my insert pages. Notice you can insert a duplicate page of this if you want to. You can delete a page. You can move it to wherever you want. You can rename pages. Who knew that these pages even had names, right? You have all kinds of options here. So for sections, page numbers, we're going to talk about master pages in a little bit, but really, really great. So we're going to see now, first of all, let's go ahead and just move this. You can see, oh, well, where do you want to move it to? Oh, I want to move it to after page 4. And you can see that's another way to move it. Let's go and right click. Let's say move, and let's just say before page 1. Great, there that is. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. Let's right click again. And this time I'm going to say rename. All right, and I'm just going to call this cover page. All right, and that's going to be important later on once I start saying, hey, where is this going to go, right? When I say, let's move it to a place, where do I want it to go? Okay, so let's try this one here. I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to go ahead and just say, all right, let's rename this one. And what's going to go on here? I'll just say contact page. All right, and now when I right click and I say move, we're going to see here, look at that. These pages have names. There's my cover page, there's my contact page. So when you're linking to pages, it actually gives them an identity. Okay, so this is really good stuff to just kind of start off with. All right, now we also saw the ability to create and Now, we also saw the ability to create sections. So when I right click here, you're going to notice here is this option to insert a section, right? And you'll see here, oh, look at that. Now I have this section that I can collapse and expand. Okay, let's come over to here and let's do another section. Let's go over here to page 4, right click, insert section. Right? Oh, pretty cool. And now this is collapsed, and now this is expanded. But now if I do that, you can see how all of these are now collapsed. So let's now take a look at a larger document and how we can do this. All right, because right now we don't actually have a lot of content. Let's see what this might look like with something a little bit bigger. So here I am back in our newsletter example, right? This is a little bit bigger of a document. And let's now start creating different types of sections here. All right, so this is going to be, our first section. I'm going to right click on this one. I'm going to do another section here and right click on this one. I'm going to say another section here. Now, each individual page can be moved from section to section really easily. So I said, you know what? This actually needs to be in this section. So you can see now I've got 2 pages in this section. Let's now move this one up here. Wait for my little green line. There we go. Okay. So really nice to be able to organize your content in such a way. Now, if you right click on these, you'll notice here, you can also expand and collapse that way, expand and collapse, or just simply click on it. And there you have it. Bam, bam. So sometimes it's just nice when you have a really large document to be able to expand and collapse these. Okay. Now this is going to get you started with just the basics of just how you might want to organize your content. Number one, just creating the document. Number two, adding on new pages. Number three, potentially deleting your pages, moving them around, renaming them, okay? And then potentially even inserting a duplicate page of something that you've created, okay? And then finally, working with these sections, okay? Now, we're going to go a little bit deeper so we can see what master pages are all about, so we can see what's going on behind the scenes and what's going on with what and why things are showing what they are consistently. Okay, so master pages are going to be really helpful for you. Okay, so just practice the basics now of just creating your own document, moving them around, doing all kinds of other types of kind of organization on your document, and then we'll see you in the next. Now, one of the most important parts of working with long documents is working with master pages. And it's also possibly one of the more misunderstood, but one of the most valuable parts of working with documents. So let me just demonstrate for you what the master page will do for us, right? And then we're going to back up a little bit and sort of deconstruct it. So let's say I'm working on this document and I want to do another page. When I right click and say insert page, I'm just going to say, okay, I want you to notice what happens here. See that? I pretty much get the same exact background, same exact elements, everything here as I did on the first page. Well, what's happening there? The master page is dictating this. Now, how do I know this is part of the master page? Look what happens when I try to click on this. I don't know if you can hear me clicking, but I click on this, I can't actually do anything to it. Let's come over to this page here. Same thing. I cannot actually select this. It's actually kind of glued to the background. Think about it like that. So how can I get to the master page? A couple of ways. You can go to the View tab here, is Master Page. You can go to Page Design, and then here is Master Page, and then you can say Edit Master Page, and you can also here see is the option to apply master pages. All right, we're going to come back to this in a little bit. But let's go over here to View, and then let's choose Master Page. And you'll see that it kind of looks similar, but what's going on is that I have this set of designs that are now going to be repeating on every single page that is connected to that master page. I was like, oh, great. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to add on something or take something away. Whatever pages that I see on that kind of front end page will then be reflected about what else is here. Okay, so let's just, for example, I'm going to say insert. I'm going to bring in a shape. Okay, let's just bring in a big old heart, like right there. Okay, and then let's just put that there, and then let's just add a nice little red color. Okay, and there that is. Okay, now what I'm going to do is get out of the master page, because notice I am still in the master page, and what I need to do is close out of the master page, so then I can therefore be in a whole different section, right? Going back to where I started, getting out of this. So now when I click close master page, guess what is on every single page, right? So think about it like the mold for all of your pages. Okay, so just notice I cannot click on this, cannot click on it, okay? Because it's all inside the master. So let's just do one more thing here. I go to View, go over here to Master Page. This time, let's just make this a little bit smaller. Let's bring that to the lower right, okay? And then, all right, great. Guess what's gonna happen? When I close this out, you're gonna see, bam, it's gonna be here, and it's going to be here, all right? Now, this is obviously a document that was already created. Let's take a look at the document that we were starting on earlier, right, our little summer picnic, all right? So let's just say, for example, we wanted to have something on every single page for our document here, okay? So what I can do now is go up to the View tab, and I'm going to go to my master, and you're going to see that there's nothing on this one, right? Should not surprise you because there's nothing going on in the background or anything like this. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add on, again, it could be a shape, could be a logo, could be anything, but I want it on every single page. So let's go over here to our master page, and I'm just going to say insert. And I want you to notice that I have, let's just try again another shape. I'm going to go over to here, and then I just want to do like kind of a little kind of colored bar along the outside. I'm going to say no outline, click away, And then I'm just going to have this little stripe that's going to be on every single page. So I close out the master and look at that. Every single page now has that. Okay. So you can see how that's a big time saver, because later on my boss comes over and says, no, we're not doing blue, right? We're actually going to do, yellow for summer. Oh, okay, great. But I got it on 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Oh my God, what a pain. Because I'm working with master pages, all I need to do is go back to view and go to master page. Now, if you're working with master pages a lot and this is kind of flummoxing you, just go ahead and right click and say add to the quick access toolbar. So it's always going to be here, right? So when I click on this, the next thing I might want to do is also add on my close master page. So then this is going to be here too. Okay, so good use case for using the quick access toolbar. All right, now here I am inside my master. I'm going to go ahead and change the color. Go over here to shape format, and then let's choose our yellow. Okay, love that. That's great. Close out of that, and there I have it. All 4 of them are now changed, right? So really neat, all right? But let's think of another situation. Imagine that I didn't want this yellow stripe here on every single page, right? Well, it's happening on every single page. What can I do? Very simple. Let's go back to view, and all I'm going to do is go to my master pages and simply add on a new master page, right? I'm going to click on that, and you can see here it says, okay, well, what's your description, right? Well, I'm just going to call this cover, because for my cover, I want it to look a little different. So I'm giving it a name, cover, and maybe I can even change my little prefix to 1 and click OK. And you can see here that says 1, that says A, and this is just going to be blank, right? So my cover, I don't want to have anything on there. So guess what? With this selected, I'm going to come back over to here. Let me just kind of draw your attention to this apply to. Click on that, and you're going to see apply to what? All the pages, apply to all the pages, apply to master page. What? Oh, I wanted to do it from one page to the other, which is just going to be just page 1. Okay, this is going to be the clearest way to do it. I click OK. I get out of this, and then guess what? There it is. No longer has the master page on there of the former one, right? Does not have the stripe. Now, another way you could have done that was what I alluded to earlier. So let's go back over here to page design, come way over here to master pages, and you're going to see how I have all my master pages now available. So if I want to switch that back, you can see how easy it is to switch it back. Again, page design, master pages, cover, and it's fixed. All right, so there's really a lot of creative ways you can do this, a lot of ways to make your whole process more robust. Okay, so there's really a lot to think about, right? Unpacking, well, listen, how am I going to be more kind of efficient and consistent, but this time using master pages, right? It's not necessarily using styles and design and things, but it is ultimately it's going to allow you to accomplish the same goal. Okay, now coming back to where we were with this document here, let's just imagine another scenario again of not wanting to have is for every single page. What could we do? Very simply, let's go back to our master page. We're going to go ahead and add on another master. Okay, and I'll just call this main body. Click OK. And this time I'm going to get out of it. And you're going to see I don't want this to actually have all the stuff that the main poster cover page had. So very simply, I'm going to go over here to page design, come way over here to master pages, and then there it is, main body. And now that is beautiful. Okay, exactly what I want. All right, so this will be something you'll want to practice. But just to kind of get the concept down, is definitely enough for now, and then really put it to use of how you can have, the mold in the background for whatever you want it to be, right? Shapes like this could just be a simple logo, could be all kinds of different things, all right? What I'm going to show you in the next lesson is how we can insert page numbers, okay? So practice up, and we'll see you in the next lesson. And welcome back. As promised, what we're going to talk about in this lesson is how we can bring in page numbers. Okay, so if we take a look at my document here, you'll notice I have no page numbers right on any of these, right? No page numbers, nothing up my sleeve. And I want to have page numbers on every single one of these. Okay, so I'm going to do that using my master pages. So I'm going to go over to here, master pages, and then I only want to have them on these pages, not on the cover. So I'm going to very selectively choose this, right? Which is really going to allow me in this nice slick way to be very selective about which pages actually show the page numbers, right? Which is kind of nice. So notice over here inside my master page tab is this option to show my header or footer. So when I click on that, you'll notice how it actually comes up, right? Very close and clear that I'm on my header. And then if I come down here, I click on that. Now I'm inside of my footer. And you'll see very easily I can then insert a page number. Insert a field that displays the current page number. As more pages are added or removed from the publication, this page number updates. So you'll notice how it actually puts in this little pound sign. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and center that pound sign. So what is that pound sign? That pound sign is basically a placeholder for text, right? And what is that text? That text is a page number, as you could probably guess. So if I wanted to, I could make that text, right, bigger, smaller, right, a different color, right? I can do all kinds of different things. And you just notice what I did is I aligned it in the center. Okay, I could also put words in front of this. I can say the word page if I wanted to. Okay, that's kind of nice. Or maybe I can just do like a little hyphen to the right of it and to the left of it. Okay, so that's kind of nice. And I can just do all kinds of different stuff here. Maybe I want to change the color, like I said. Let's just maybe do like this like deep red color. Let's bold it. Okay, good. So you'll see in a second that like this can be treated just like text to be able to display it in a variety of different ways. Okay, and of course, if I don't like this, I can easily change this. So let's see what this looks like now when I go out of my master and I come over to here to, guess what, page 2. Is it showing on page 1? It certainly is not, because that is connected to what? A different master. So this is going to say 2, my nice color, and these little hyphens there. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so it's as easy as that to add on page numbers. Okay, so let's maybe just go maybe a little bit more kind of fun. Let's just do another kind of shape. So I'm going to go back over to here. Maybe I want to kind of segment this out a little bit more. So I'm going to do an insert. I'm going to go to shape. And this time I'm just going to draw out maybe a line just to kind of separate it. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a line. And I'm going to hold down my shift key as I draw out this line. Why am I holding down the shift key? Because it allows me to stay perfectly straight. That is a nice pro tip for you, right? See? If I didn't do that, then it would be kind of wiggling all over the place. Holding down the shift key really allows for kind of like perfection, right? Think about shift and stick, right? Just kind of sticks to things, right? So I can go over to here and I could decide, all right, for my outline, do I want it to be maybe a little bit thinner, right? Okay, I can very easily do that. For my outline, what color do I want it to be? Maybe I want it to match my page numbers. Cool. So you can see that is going to be on every single page now. I've just drawn that line. It's going to be right above the page numbers. So let's get out of the master, come over to here, and you can see just like that, it's on every single page. Let's go over to here to view. Let's maybe turn off some of the stuff here. I don't need to see the guides. And let's go ahead and make this. So it's going to fit in, and bam, now you can see it on every single page nice and clearly. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do, because I'm a crazy perfectionist, I'm just going to bring this line all the way to the edge, and you'll see I only have to do it in one place, and you're going to see it's super easy to do. Hold down the shift key, drag that. Probably better to zoom in for certain things. Okay, there you go. Okay, and then close out the master page, and there you have it. All right, so inserting page numbers and then just doing some other things around that, working with headers and footers So all kinds of things you can do around this. Now, the headers and footers, just to kind of continue this conversation, this really could be anything you want here. Okay. So if I go back over to my master page and I decide I want to have something on the top of every single page here, I can actually just put in some basic text. So we can just say summer picnic news letter, okay, summer 2022, okay, and treat this like normal text. I'm gonna go ahead and center that. It's gonna go over to here, center that, make that a little bit bigger. And guess what? I can put another line under here if I want to, or put anything else you want in there, right? Again, let's do some of our shapes. Come over to here, and maybe let's just put in a little sunshine. Great, and that's gonna be on every single page. Close that out, and then look at that. Beautiful. All right, so that's a combination of working with master pages and also working with our header, footer, and page numbers. Okay, excellent. So pause the video, practice that, have fun with it. Imagine how you're gonna do this with your documents and have fun. Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to talk about how to insert images, how to edit images, enhance them, and all kinds of different image types of modifications and enhancements. So how do we bring in images? First of all, let's talk about that. So very simply, if you click on Insert, you're going to notice here is the option to bring in pictures, but also to bring in online pictures. So pictures are actually going to take you into your computer to be able to then get all of your pictures available to you. Online pictures, you're going to see that there's going to be a whole host and wide array of different types of stock images that you can work from. So let's just go ahead and just go here to pictures, and notice I have some pictures here for you to play around with. And notice that some of these are JPEGs, some of them are BMPs, bitmaps, some of them are PNGs and JPEGs and all this stuff here, right? So depending on which file format you're working with, any of these will work, right? PNGs I really like because why? They work well with transparency. So you can see all of that that's coming in there is going to just kind of make the middle part of it float. Okay, whereas JPEGs won't necessarily work with that. All right, so totally up to you, but just a little bit of background on that. JPEGs do allow you to have different file compression. So file size is important to you, and also vibrancy. JPEGs will be good. So it's worth looking into that a little bit more if you want to get some kind of graphic design 101 on the difference between the different image file types. So let me go ahead and bring in this PNG. And now you'll notice here, as I bring this in, I can very easily move it around, okay? And notice how it just kind of floats here, okay? Which is really nice, right? Because it's a PNG file. Now, when I select it, notice the bounding box that appears here, right? I can now very easily resize that, do it this way, right? Do whatever I want to do here, resize it this way. Okay, great. Maybe I want to have it kind of fit right inside here. Okay, wonderful. But let's say I make it so big, or I bring it up here, it interferes with my text. We're going to talk about text wrapping in just a little bit, but that could be a problem for a lot of you, because notice when I move this back down, oh, it now appears. So they're not really kind of playing nice with each other. So what we're going to do is go ahead in a little bit, go here to our picture format tools to be able to see what different things we can do with our images. Okay, so again, okay, but a few other basic things you might want to do with your image is outside of moving it around and resizing it is rotating. Maybe you want to rotate this way. Maybe that is a logo you're looking for, right? Come back over to here, do it that way as well. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at another image that we could bring in. I'm going to go ahead and delete this very simply by hitting delete. And you'll notice again that my contextual tab now goes away, right? Because I have no image to work with. But let's go ahead and bring in a different kind of image. Let's go over here to our online pictures. And you're going to see this is going to pop up, powered by Bing. That's great. And you can see here, I can take a look at any number of different things, right? What says summer to me, right? So let's just go ahead and go over here to beach. All right, very nice. A lot of good stuff to work with right there. So let's just click on that, click on insert. And here this comes in. And I have the same type of capabilities here, right? So you'll see here very easily, I can resize this, move it around, and even rotate it if I want to as well. Okay, let's bring that back. Okay, and also note that, see, they're kind of getting in the way of each other. So let's now play around with all the options I have now for this image for me to work with. Okay, so in order to do this kind of better, I'm just going to remove this background. I don't need this little shape. And now I'm just going to have this guy kind of floating here. And then if you double click on an image, it's a nice little pro tip, this is going to bring up the contextual tab of picture format. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to see what options are available for this photograph. Okay. So looking over here, we have this group called adjust. What do I want to adjust? Do I want to adjust all of these things here in terms of my brightness and contrast? Okay, and you'll notice that when I click on that, notice that I've done a little bit of kind of like photoshopping of this. Let's bring this up super bright. Easily I can do that. So if you have an image, that does not come in the way that you want it to, post-production, you can very easily work on it to make it do what you want it to do. Okay, very good. Now, I didn't like what I did. I made a few, kind of went a little bit crazy. So guess what I can do now is go to reset picture, and that resets the picture back to where it originally was entirely, right? So keep that in mind, that reset is going to reset it not only in terms of the color and everything, but it's going to reset it in terms of the size of where it originally was. Okay, so kind of a nice thing to do, right? Because you can reset it very easily. However, just know that it could actually make things go a little crazy. So just know how to resize. That's why we talk about that at first. Let's go over here now to recolor. And you can see you can make this image black and white if you want to. You can make this image have a nice little different kind of hue. Maybe you want to be a little more artistic about it. Okay, you can do that. Or I'm just going to come back to my original. And there's that. Okay. Compressing your picture. When you click on that, you're going to get a little dialog box. And basically this is allowing us to then make the picture a little smaller in case you're planning on, sending it as an email, right? Or maybe if you're printing it or whatever you want to do, or you want to put it onto your website, it's coming in too big and it's making your whole document too big. You can compress it. So you can see when I compress it, I can delete out cropped area of my pictures. Okay, this OLE, object linking and embedding data. So that actually has like a lot of stuff kind of in the background, like metadata and everything like that. That takes up space. It can resample the pictures, which is actually really smart because when you shrink it down, you don't want to lose any color or anything like that. So it resamples it. Okay. If you convert it to a JPEG, you're going to see, like I said earlier, working with those different file formats like a JPEG allows for different kind of compression. Okay. But your target output is going to decide when you are compressing your picture, what type of compression is going to happen. Commercial is going to be the least amount of compression, desktop printing next after that, and then the web is going to be the most amount of compression. So when I click on that, I want you to notice this number change right here. Let's go back to here, way up to 535, 288, way down to 55. So you are going to lose some resolution and some quality when you bring this down to web. So just know that that's what's going to happen. I'm going to keep this up here at commercial printing. Last part here is apply compression settings now, apply to all pictures or apply only to the selected picture, right? Because this will actually save you a lot of time if you apply it to all the pictures, right? But right now I only have one picture, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to click on compress. I'm going to say compressing may reduce the quality, exactly what I said. I'm going to say yes. We can't really tell the difference here, okay? Now, if I wanted to replace this picture with something entirely, I can do that right from here. You can see here is change picture, and you're going to see a very different dialog box here. So I can either do it from a file that's on my computer or an image search from Bing. It says, you know what, let's actually do fireworks through Bing. And you're going to see this is going to pop up like, oh, you know what? Maybe this is a little bit more about what I'm aiming for. So let's go ahead and click on that, say insert, and wait for it. And look at that. Comes right in. Same exact size, same exact placement, right? Very, very cool. But what it also does, which is so considerate of it, is it actually moves your old image into your little scratch area there, which is kind of nice in case you change your mind, right? So I kind of like that fact that they do that. And it's also very easy to swap it out. So if you click on this, you see swap, and you can see here is swap. So if you change your mind, you can go ahead and go back and forth between these two, right? So I really like that. So I'm going to keep this as is and keep coming over here to my picture options, go over here to picture styles, click on the drop down, and notice all of these preset styles I can work with. This is very much a spice to taste thing, but if I click on this, you'll notice how I get a nice little frame around the picture. Double click on the picture to come back. Let's take a look at some of these other ones. Let's do a darker frame. Come back. Let's do this one. Kind of fun, right? It basically puts a nice little kind of mask around it. So it's only going to be this little oval, and I have a nice little drop shadow. If I move this up a little bit, drop shadow will actually come with it. Okay, and that'll actually be on the page. So you'll want to experiment with these. They're really nice, you know, depending on what you're trying to show. But if it's like kind of a snapshot or something, you want to kind of make it look a little bit more unique. These are actually pretty great to work with. All right. Now, you can also do some more things that are going to be a little bit more kind of manual. All right. So for right now, let's go ahead and just keep this as is. And let's just start with another new document, a new image to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to pictures again. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go over here to insert. I'm going to say online pictures. All right. And then let's just do dogs. All right. And then let's just go ahead and bring, who do we love? This guy's cute. All right. Lucky's first. All right. And there we go. And let's just do a few other things with this one and see what options we have for these additional type of picture styles. So border, you can choose what kind of border you want in terms of color, in terms of weight. Do you want dashes, right? You want a pattern, right? You can do all kinds of different things. So let's go ahead and just choose a color. You can barely see it. Why? Because it's not thick enough. So we go to weight. Let's make that nice and thick. We can see that there. Click on the drop down, and you'll see here, if you want to go to more lines, you can do that. Okay, so if I click on that, you'll notice how this takes me to a pretty advanced dialog box for me to now really, really customize what I want. And that's the purpose of doing something a little bit more in this kind of more manual way, as opposed to the picture styles, which is a little more automatic. So when I'm here, right, you can see here I have the ability to, change all kinds of different things here. Here's my fill, which we're not working with, but I am working with my line, which is this outside part here. And I can say, well, listen, I want this to be just a little more see-through. So I bring up my transparency a little bit. I want it to be actually really, really thick. Compound type. You can see there's all kinds of different things you can be working with, including border art. If you want to go really crazy with your stuff here, you can see there's all kinds of ways to be creative with it. Okay, let's come back to that. All right, let's just go ahead and check out our dash type. Okay, you can see you can do that. Cap type, you can make it a little more rounded around the corner. Click OK. And now you can see that's done. Let's come back to that again. Go over to here to my borders. Come back over here to my more lines. And this time, let's go over to here to, once again, you can see here is the option for border art. Now, you'll see border art not only here, but you'll also see it here. Okay, so in case you can't remember where to go, you can check it out here as well. And I choose that. And you can see, all right, you know what? Let's find something else, right, that might be related to our images. Maybe we have some dog stuff, right? Maybe we just have some more fun stuff or whatever. And believe it or not, once you bring in these images, they're actually not as kind of cheesy as you might think, right? They're actually a little bit kind of cleaner and kind of more elegant than you might kind of imagine them to be. because they do look a little bit kind of dated. But let's just go ahead and choose, let's just use this one, right? Color of the Husky. Click OK. Click OK again, and there you go. Okay. So you really kind of want to experiment with these, but just know that the options are there and they're actually pretty great, right? So it's definitely worth checking out. Let's go now a little bit further into our picture effects. And you can see here a lot of the stuff that we just saw inside of our picture styles presets are now also here. So here's, you can put on a shadow, right? So let's just go ahead and bring in a shadow. Okay, really subtle, kind of hard to see, but the shadow in fact is there. Let's go and do that again. Let's go ahead and do perspective. Okay, there we go. That's going to be a little more obvious to see. Okay, we can see that. It's great. All right, and then let's just do a couple more. You can see there's also inner shadow, right? And guess what? Come way down to the bottom, you have the shadow options. And then this is going to allow you to really, really control how this looks. Okay, so let's just go ahead and bring this way down. Transparency, click OK, and you can see I can barely see it now. Let's do that again. Shadow. Shadow options. Let's bring that way back up again. Let's increase the size. Let's increase the blur. Angle. I don't know if I'll be able to really do too much with that one. Okay, because it's a very particular type. All right, and then see if I can do anything with the distance. You'll see, okay, very, very different. Okay, but what's so cool about this is that you have Photoshop-like tools available to you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So maybe this is the look you're looking for, and you can very easily create that. Okay, so again, let's come back to this now. I'm going to say no shadow. Come back to it one more time. This time, let's go over here to glow. All right, and glow is pretty self-explanatory, I think. So let's just go ahead and choose one little glow right there. If you don't like that glow, you can go ahead and click on Picture Effects again, go to glow, and guess what? Glow options, and then very similar, what we saw a minute ago with our shadow options, we will see it for glow. So guess what? I can choose all kinds of different colors for my glow. And I decided, all right, you know what? I actually want to do kind of like a red glow. Okay, I want to make the size a smidge bigger. Okay, and I'm going to click OK, and you can see, there you have it. Okay, so really easy, really nice to apply kind of different things. Let's go back over to here. Let's do something similar. So I'm going to apply a glow here. So I'm going to go back to my picture format, picture effects. I'm going to go over here to glow. All right, and then I'm going to say more glow colors this time, and then I'm going to choose again. Let's do yellow. Okay, and then come back again, go to glow options this time because I wanted to make it bigger. Okay, and then make it slightly more transparent, so it's going to be sort of like, you know, kind of lost a little bit, so it looks a little bit more kind of glowy. Okay, you can really experiment with these. Okay, let's go a step further with this one, taking a look at our other picture effects. And let's now go over here to soft edges. And let me just go kind of extreme with this. You can see what that does. So with this picture, I'm going to not only make it have a glow edge, but I'm going to remove the glow. Excuse me, I'm going to apply the soft edges, but I'm going to remove the glow so we can see what it looks like now. For some of you, this may be the way you want to go for your portraits. Okay, so you can see how that kind of gives a nice kind of ethereal look to it. Okay, so let's go back over here to more picture effects. I'm going to come to reflection and say no reflection. I'm going to come back over here to picture effects. I'm going to say no shadow. Okay, and that's getting rid of the shadow. And then maybe this is the look you're looking for. Let's do it to our friend here. Something similar. I'm going to go over to here to our picture effects, soft edges, come way down like that. I'm going to remove my glow, no glow. And now let's go ahead and remove the border. And that's kind of a nice little look, right? Kind of adds a little bit of kind of romance, you know, a little bit of the kind of Betty Davis look there. Okay, so you have all kinds of options that, this is an amazing program. This is not an Adobe program, but you have a lot of the Adobe kind of skills and now the Adobe types of options available to you. Okay, very good. Now, let's now talk a little bit about some of these options here under arrange and also crop. All right, so let's just start off with crop first of all. All right, cropping is very simple. I'm going to click on the crop icon, and this is going to allow me to actually crop out certain parts of this. So notice how I get these little black bars that come around this. I'm going to move my mouse right to kind of like to match up with one of the black bars. Get rid of it here. Click and drag, get rid of it here, and then maybe even come down a little bit there. Sorry if your little ears. Okay, and then click away, and now notice I have a very different picture. Okay, let's come back to that again. Now, what I'm going to do, I want you to notice there's a drop down here to crop to shape. Okay, and this is where things get kind of interesting, right? Because I can actually adjust it to whatever shape I want it to be. Okay, so watch this now. I'm just going to make this kind of be inside of a rounder framing, right? Think about it like that. So I say crop to shape, and then I'm just going to choose this one right here. And you'll notice how now it's exactly what I want it to be. Okay, and I can make this nice and big. And you can see now it is this shape. Okay, let's do another picture. Those of you cat lovers, let's do one more. Let's say insert online pictures, and then let's bring in cats. And let's just pretty much do the same thing, right? Bring the first ones. Okay, it's great. And now I'm going to make this nice and big, but I'm going to make this into a rounded circle, right? Kind of an oval. So it's going to be a little bit different. So that is going to be crop to shape. So I click on the drop down, crop to shape, and I'm going to come over here to my oval, and just like that, I have a very, very different looking image. Okay, let's do it one more time now for our picture effects, and let's just have a nice little soft edge on them. And oh, isn't that cute, right? So it just kind of adds on a different level of, kind of tone for you when you kind of add those things on there. Okay, so very good. Now we're going to finish off this discussion by going over these right here in terms of working with our range options. Now I want to have this image with the dog here. So what I'm going to do very simply is I'm going to cut it, right? So I'm going to right click, I'm going to say cut, and then I'm going to come over to here, and then I'm just going to do Control V, V as in Victor, to paste. And now you can see how these guys are kind of on top of each other now. Okay, very good. You can see that. But now I actually don't want the dog to be underneath the cats. I want the cats to be underneath the dog. Okay, so that is what we do, what we call arrange. Okay, so you can see here under the arrange tab, your range group, you're going to see I have bring forward, a drop down menu, and also bring to front, and I also have send backwards and send to back. What is the difference between all four of those? The difference between bring forward and bring to front. Bring forward just kind of brings it up kind of one notch in the layer at a time, or bring to front brings it all the way to the front, okay, of all of your layers. In this case, it doesn't really matter, mostly because we only have one image, right, to compete with, right? So it's not going to really matter in this case, right? But I'm just going to go ahead and bring the dog now to the front, right? So I'm going to say bring to front, and you can see there you have it. Okay, now the dog is in front. All right, and it's super easy to do that. Also note that you could right click on these too, right? And when you right click, you should see a lot of options here as well, right? Including change picture, send picture, save picture. You got all kinds of different options you can do. Okay, unfortunately, bring to front is not available here, right? But it might in future versions, okay? Okay, now let's talk about the last component here, which is going to be text wrapping, right? Now earlier I showed you this image here and how you can actually, move this image in here, and that kind of interferes with the text, and the text interferes with the image. Now, most of the time when you're dealing with this, you're going to be dealing with like a whole bunch of text. Okay, so we're going to start talking about, kind of big swaths of text in a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and borrow some kind of that fake Latin text that I have in this document so we can kind of see some text coming in. I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to come over here into this text box that I have available to me. And then just so we have something to work with, let's go ahead and make this nice and big. All right, now let's bring in our image of this cute little puppy into here, and let's just see how they kind of play with each other. This is known as text wrapping. Do you see how this is wrapping right around the text, right? Wherever I put the image, the text just kind of moves out of the way. Okay, so what's going on here? If I click on wrap text, I want you to notice this is set to square. If I say none, notice, okay, they're kind of seeing each other, but is this moving? Not really, but maybe that's kind of a cool effect, but I can't see my text, right? So let's just see some other options here. Tight. Notice what this is doing is it's kind of conforming more or less to the shape of the image. You see that? Because my image was kind of round, it's kind of doing this really cool effect to kind of make it kind of conform to the shape of the image. Okay, let's try another one. Top and bottom, what's that do? Oh, does exactly what I think it's going to do. It just basically kind of like hurdles over the image to basically give me the type of effect that I want to work with the image properly. Okay, through kind of goes right through it just like that, and that's kind of nice. It's very similar to what I saw a second ago with my tight, okay, but actually a lot closer. Okay, and then inline with text, probably the one you're going to choose the least, right? Because it basically treats it like a word, right? It's literally in line with the text. Okay, so let's go ahead and just bring this back, and then you're going to want to choose whichever one is going to work for you. The edit the wrap points is maybe a little bit more advanced, but if you do really want to have some control over how the text is going to come in, these are your individual wrap points, and you can actually bring these in, right? And then that might affect how the text is going to come in. So let's just find some words here. Just see that, how it's actually being affected by this. Okay, so take it or leave it, but it does give you, a little bit more kind of nuance and control over your text wrapping functionality. All right, so very cute. Enjoy this. This is a very long video, all things working with images. Okay, so there's really a lot you can do with images. So pause the video, practice up, have fun with it, bring in your own images, check out some of those online images, but you'll see there's really a lot you can do in terms of enhancement and creativity. All right, we'll see you in the next video, and practice up and have fun. And welcome back, everybody. So we are going to switch gears a little bit. We have spent a good deal of this class discussing images, discussing master pages, discussing design, and all of our other styles and everything like that around the graphics. But a big chunk of what you're going to do is around text. So we're going to talk about just some basic text formatting, but we're going to very quickly get in a little bit more, sophisticated with the different things that you can do within your text bodies, right? So we're going to talk about different kind of line spacing. We're going to talk about drop caps, obviously different colors. We're going to get into bullets. All right, we're going to go all kinds of different directions within text. But let's just start off just looking at something that's already complete. We have this brochure, and we're going to see what we can do to make some edits to this. Okay, so all of your options for type is going to be over here if you want to do things manually, right? So if I wanted to manually change my type or my font, I can do it here, right? I can just go ahead and click on this little drop down. You can see I have every option available to me. So if I go ahead and click here, there you can see there's that word that I'd selected now as elephant font. Go ahead and do Control-Z to get rid of that. If I want to go ahead and select everything, I can very easily then make a change to that. And you can see very scary looking font. If I want to make that font bigger, easier to read, just go ahead and make that bigger, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to go and undo, bring it back to where I was before. Great. All right. So just keep in mind, just if you want to select it, right? That's how you affect it, right? That's pretty much the basics of this, right? Now, you'll also notice that I have some other options here like bolding, right? You can see this is bolded, this is bolded. Notice how the B gets highlighted, right? And you know, some of these things you probably experienced already in other programs, so I don't want to take anything for granted. Now, there are some other things that you may not have experienced, right? You can see like the different types of casing, normal, small caps, or all caps. So let me just go ahead and put the word summer, I'm going to double click on that, in all caps. You can see now it's going to become all caps. Maybe that's what you're trying to do. Let me go and undo that. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a triple click here and then do the same exact thing. I'm going to say all caps and then everything gets in all caps. I'll go ahead and do the same thing now, but do small caps and let's see what the difference is. Let me go ahead and zoom in and you can see how the first letter is the bigger version of the cap. And these are still in caps, but they're smaller versions of it. Okay, which is a nice kind of design choice. So maybe you want to do that, and it also doesn't take up as much room. So maybe I'll keep it there. All right. Now, you'll also see that within this same area, I have all these other options for, go ahead and highlight everything again, for my color, right? I can change the different colors if I want to, right? You'll also notice that I have all my colors that are related to the theme that I chose originally, right? So if I change my theme, guess what? All of the scheme colors will then change. Okay, so just keeping that in mind. Now with colors, you have a lot to choose from. We haven't really gone too deep into colors, so let's just now use this as an opportunity. You can see here I can choose more colors, and you can see I have all kinds of colors I can choose from here. I can go over here to custom, and guess what? I have every color I can imagine, and I can come over here and just choose my RGB value and also my hexadecimal value. So your design team may be able to tell you a little bit better about what these numbers are going to be. Okay, so your design person is going to go and say, listen, we're only doing RGB of a 4397.6, right? Like, oh, okay, cool, that's easy. And you just plug in the numbers and then it'll change, right? So bam. Okay, and I can't remember what I said, and then cool, now I got this nice little 100 green there. Cool, all right? Or you're gonna put in a hexadecimal value, and it's gonna go in that way. Also notice that you may have some other options here like CMYK, and you can put those numbers in too. So just a little bit of background, right? RGB is better for the web. CMYK is gonna be better for when you are printing. Okay, so you're going to want to know kind of which values and which kind of color models to choose from when you are in fact choosing these colors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just say okay, and now you're going to see now I've got this nice green color. Okay, so again, if you don't see what you like, now if you click on the drop down again, you're going to see that I also have these other options here, right? Sample font color. So let's say, for example, I wanted to kind of make my font the same color as this girl's shirt. I can very easily do that because now my mouse turns in this little eyedropper. I click on that, click away, and now notice it's pink. All right, so you can basically highlight anything you wanted to within the actual document to be able to then kind of pick up on that color if you like. All right, so again, I'm going to undo, just Control Z and then Control Z, and that comes right back. All right, loving this. All right. And then we have some other things as well in terms of our, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of our line spacing, right? Or excuse me, our character spacing. Okay, so let's just go ahead and bring this in here. And you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and say very tight, and you'll notice what that's doing. In other programs, you'll see this being called tracking. Okay, tracking. So let's go ahead and just make this normal. Let's go ahead and make it very loose. Okay, look at that. See what's happening is that the space between all the letters gets a little bit further out. Okay, so you can basically choose whatever one you want here, but what's really nice is that you can just go over here to more spacing and you can go out in different ways, more specifically if you like to, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and just do that. I get a nice little preview of it and then cool, I'm good to go. All right, so this is kind of a spice to taste thing. You kind of choose what you like, but I'm gonna make mine maybe go to 90. Have it maybe look a little more interesting. Maybe I'll go one more time so it fits in the box. Try that again. And cool. I like that, right? So it looks a little bit different than any other text. So this little area really kind of packs a punch, a lot more than you might realize. All right. And now finally, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this. I'll just come back to here again. Okay, what this one does is it just clears out the formatting. So if you decide, listen, I don't want the formatting at all, I want to start from scratch. See, it's like a little A with an eraser on it, right? That just says, hey, listen, this is going to be just like the default style. So it just pares it down to nothing. All right, so it's a really, really good one to know about in general, not just in Publisher, but in other programs as well. So you say, listen, I don't want what you've given me. Bam, let's get rid of it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and undo that because I do like it. All right. And then you've got your options here for your alignment, and also you got your options for bullets, and you've got your options for indenting and spacing and all that good stuff here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for right now, allow you to practice at least some of these basics, and we'll come back in the next lesson. See you in a bit. All right, and let's continue on with this discussion about our paragraph group here, because there is a lot more than meets the eye than what's going on just right here on the surface. So let's check out and see what is happening here. So some things you might be familiar with is alignment. So let's say, for example, I wanted this to be left aligned rather than being centered in this text box. So you'll notice here, I'm inside my paragraph group, and I am now center aligned. If I click on this, I am now left aligned. I click on that, I'm right aligned. I click back here, I'm center aligned. Pretty straightforward, right? Nothing too fancy there. Okay. Now you'll also notice to the right of this, I have what's known as my line spacing. And this also gives you a lot of really great control. I want you to notice the line spacing here, right? The space between the lines and the line spacing here. In other capacities, you might hear this be called leading. Okay, so line spacing and lettering are going to be the same thing. Now let me go ahead and maybe add on a little bit more space between these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here, and let's just go ahead and say 1.5. Oh, look what that does. Come over to here, bring that back down to 1. Oh, look what that does. Click on it again. Guess what? I can go even further and be more specific about these things if I want to as well, right? Including space before the paragraph even begins, the space after the paragraph, okay? Space between the lines, right? You see here we are again, right? And I can kind of very, very specific about these things. So I'm going to do like 1.25 this time. I click OK. So it's like somewhere in the middle there, okay? So really nice, really great things that you can do within here. Again, about control about how you want to present all your content. Okay, so let me go over to another document, and let's now work on our indenting. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all this content. I'm going to go over here to my paragraph group, and you'll notice here I have these two icons here, decrease indent position and increase indent position. I click on that, and you'll notice what happens. A nice little indent happens there, right? And it goes up a very specific amount in terms of how I want it to indent. What is that specific amount? It's going to be right up here. You can specify where that's going to be. So I want you to actually zoom in here to see exactly what's actually going on right here. You can see how we have these three little icons. These three little icons are indicating a variety of different things that are happening. If I click here, notice how that changes the placement of it. Go to here, same placement because the margin is the same. I click here and notice how that changes. If I wanted to make sure that this kind of indenting was done in a little bit of a different way, I can go ahead and then just zoom in, right there. You see that bottom little rectangle, and just drag that over a little bit more to the left, and notice how I can have that kind of control over that indent. So this is related to this, obviously, and then this is related to this. Okay, so it's really kind of cool how we have that kind of control over where the margins are when we indent. Okay, so pretty cool to be able to have that kind of control, right? Because we just take it for granted that we can't really do too much more after the program sets us up. Okay, so just keeping that in mind. All right, now the next thing we're going to talk about is our ability to work with columns. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight everything here. I'm going to go over to here. You'll notice very simply, how many columns do you want? Right now, this is one column. I say two columns, and then notice what that does. It now splits it up into two columns, giving me the opportunity to then maybe resize this, and that's actually going to show it in a little bit of a different way. See that? This is now 2 columns. So if we take a look at my ruler again, I click here, and then take a look at this white here. I click on the second column. It's a totally separate little space within the ruler. Click, 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 click. And you see you actually have, again, a lot of control over things, and working with columns is pretty great because, again, it allows you to just kind of separate things out in a little bit different way. Let's take a look at, let's just say this one, excuse me. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And again, let's go ahead and come to here, 2 columns, and you can see how that's a little bit different, right? Let's bring this picture down here. Yeah, see, 2 columns, right? Let me go ahead and make this a little bit wider. Okay, very nice. So let's make it a little more narrow so it kind of balances out a little bit. Depending on what you want to do, just notice how it kind of reinvents itself. All right, so lots and lots of good stuff you can do here. All right. Now, one thing I like to have people do within this paragraph group here is to turn this little icon on here, because this allows us to kind of see what's going on the screen here. Like what's going on, kind of giving you a little bit of x-ray vision, what's going on behind the scenes. So if I turn this off again, you'll see these little backwards P's show up. What is the backwards P? Basically tells me that there is a hard paragraph happening there. With these little dots everywhere, those are little spaces. Some of you may also may see other little marks there, right? Like a little forward arrow, right? That's going to be for tabs. Maybe it's the end of a table, right? Something like that. So if I come over to here, right, you might see, different ones, right? You can see this is the end of this, right, within the actual text box, right? See, it's a little bit of a different marker. So if I turn this off, that goes away, okay? Let's go ahead and zoom into this one. You can see something very similar, right? Within a table, tells me it's the end of that cell within the table. We're going to talk about tables in a little bit, but just a good rule of thumb to work with when you are working with your content. All right, so we're going to stop right there. We're going to come back in a little bit and we're going to talk about bullets and numbers. So go ahead and pause the video, practice, and we'll see you in a bit. This is just a little added bonus because we didn't talk about this before. So drop caps, pretty straightforward. Let's go over here to our text box, and you're going to see here, just like how we saw our word styles here, we now, for our text box, not a table, we're going to see drop cap. So I click on that, and then notice all these little fancy drop caps I can do here. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe choose that one. Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe choose a different one. Oh, that one's kind of fun too, right? Just find one that's going to work for you. Okay, maybe first letter for second letter. Okay, that's interesting, right? But then guess what? I'm going to go ahead and just choose this one. Then if I click on the drop down, go to custom drop cap, notice I can then choose a number of different things that I want in case it's not coming to the way that I'd like to. Okay, so you can see here, dropped. What does that mean? I have no idea. So if I click on apply, I'll be able to actually see it before I commit to it. Up, no idea what that means. Apply, oh, okay. What about this one? Apply. It doesn't really do too much, okay? Kind of like the first one right there. Okay, that's kind of nice, okay? This one is like how many lines you might want to do, okay? So size of the letters, let's just go ahead and just say, all right, how many lines is that going to take up? Whoa, man, that's fun, right? It really takes over. Okay, number of letters. So it's actually going to be the first 3 letters of this. So I can say, hey, this is going to be use. All right, cool, I like that. All right, now let's go ahead and choose a different font potentially, choose a different color potentially, right? It's really, again, up to you. What do you want to do? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say apply. All right, and I'm going to bring this down just to 1 letter, apply. All right, and then let's bring it down to something not so crazy. Let's just do 3. All right, and that's a little more manageable. Okay, and then you got a few other options that you can experiment with as well. All right, I'm going to click OK, and I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so working with drop caps is pretty cool. All right, so experiment with that, have fun, and we will see you in the next lesson. All right, so we're going to continue this conversation from the paragraph group discussing bullets and numbering. All right, so let's just say, for example, I wanted to do some bullets and numbering here. You're going to see how I have within my paragraph group, I have my bullets and I have my numbering. You'll also notice how I have little drop-down menus for different types of bullets and different types of numbering. Okay, so if you've done this in Word before, you're pretty much going to hit the ground running here. So let's just go ahead and just say, listen, these are going to be 3 things that are going to be part of this list. So I'm going to go over to here and just say, bam, what kind of bullets do I want? Great, that's done. Okay, let's try a different one. Okay, let's maybe do a little diamond, and you'll see, if you can't see already, okay, bam, there that is. Okay, if I want to change that to numbers, click on that, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. You see some numbers. All right, let's go ahead and switch this back to, let's just do maybe bigger bullets. Okay, click on the drop down, and now you're going to notice, like I've been telling you all throughout, there are other options available. So when you click on that, I want you to see here how I have these bullet character options, and from here, I can actually increase the size of the bullets if I wanted to. Right, so if they're not coming in a more prominent way, you can very easily change that, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and make this, let's just say 20 pt, click OK, and now notice how they're significantly bigger. Okay, pretty cool. Let's go ahead and do something else. Let's now decide we want to adjust the indent. Okay, so keep your eye over here. So indent list by what? Oh, that's interesting, or less. Okay, so you have that kind of control, which is really nice. Okay, so I'm actually going to go up a little bit more like that. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'll notice what happens, right? This actually moves over while this remains the same. Now, one thing that Publisher does not show for me when I do this little drop down and come to this dialog box is the ability to actually move the bullet itself. And that's where we're going to start using these little guys up here, right? Because earlier I showed you how there were 3 little icons here, and that was just only having to do with indenting a whole paragraph. But guess what? These 3 individual shapes, this little pentagon here, that little pentagon there, and that little rectangle, they all have different kind of powers, all right? And I want you to notice, look at the alignment, right? When I click on that, notice exactly where that is. Right? So it's not a coincidence that it starts right there. Look at this one. See that? It starts right where the bullet starts. That'll give you a hint of, guess what? How I could also now move the bullet over if I wanted to. Okay, let's move on the center one here. Move that over a tiny bit, and see that? Now the words move over. Okay, if I wanted to move the whole thing, that is going to be that little guy right there, the little rectangle. So I'm just going to very carefully not touch any other shape. So I can go this way. I can go that way. Okay, so you really have all the control there. Let's make this a little wider. Great, now this is not having any orphans. Okay, so pretty cool to be able to work with this in that way, in that kind of more specific way. And the same thing is going to be for the numbers, right? So I'm going to go and go to here and see, notice how it maintains all of the different indents and spacing and everything like that. I click on the drop down, go over to here, my bullets and numbering, and you can see I have all the same options here, okay? But instead of saying, hey, what kind of bullets do you want? This is saying, hey, what type of numbering style do you want? If I know I just want to do A, B, C, I can very easily do that, okay? So you can see, all right, maybe some different ones, right? Maybe you want to do 0, 1, 0, 2, just like that. You can see the preview there. I'm going to bring that back to our original defaults. And you'll also notice I have the ability to do maybe a different type of separator. Okay, let's go ahead and try that one. And then, oh, you know what? I actually kind of like that better. I click OK. And now you'll be able to see how I have that all set up. All right. Now let's bring this back to bullets. And I'm just going to go ahead and just do that bullet once again. And again, it maintains all my spacing and indents and everything. But now let's go ahead and try something a little bit different, something a little more creative that you might want to experiment with. Let's click on the drop down, go back to bullets and numbering. And this time I'm going to go over here to character, because instead of doing these plain old boring circles or diamonds or arrows, I'm going to go ahead and choose character. And you're going to see here, I've got lots and lots of different characters to choose from, right? If I want to do, let's just say a club or a spade or a heart or something like that, or some arrows, right? You can see there's lots and lots of options here. Not that many, but there are some options. But guess what? If I want to see all the best options, I can go in so many different places, like for example, wingdings and webdings, right? So let's scroll all the way down to the W's and wait for it. Okay, let's go to webdings. And look at that. Any of these could actually become a bullet if I wanted to. See that? They've got all kinds of different options here, right? So you can see, right, we're going to do like a little school thing. Maybe you want to do, a bus, right? Maybe you're doing something for golf camp, right? Something like that. You're doing something for a bank. You see they've got so many cool things that you can do here. Okay, so I don't want to get too crazy with it. So let me just do like a triangle. We'll do something a little different. Click OK. There, that's going to be there. I click OK, and then we'll be able to see, wow, there it is, right? Something a little different, okay, but not too outrageous. But any other one you want to do, you can absolutely do. Okay, so we were just at the webdings, but you can also experiment with, wait for it, wingdings, wingdings 2 and wingdings 3. And you'll see that there's a lot of really, really nice, tasteful options to check out, right? Some are a little bit more kind of graphic-y, some are a little more abstract, right? So totally up to you how you want to do this, right? So let me just try another one. Maybe let's do a star. It's kind of nice. Click OK. That's great. Click OK. Now I've got a star, but I don't think that's big enough. So let's go back over to here. How do I do that? Let's go ahead and just blast that up. Let's go to 25. Click OK. That is fun. That's powerful. I love that, but I'll love it even more if there's a little more spacing. So I'm going to go over to here, move that over a little scooch, right? Move this over a tiny bit. Great. Love that. Okay. So it's really all about control, and it's about creativity as well. All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to adjust the line spacing for this, because I really want them to look a little different than what I have here. So this is going to be a little review from one of our last lessons. So you highlight your text here, and I'm going to go over to here to my paragraph group, come over to here, and I'm going to say, I want that to be just single line spacing. If you wanted to go even less than that, you can do that, right? You can go lower and lower and lower, make it even tighter. Okay, so you have all the control in the world. Don't forget that. It's just a matter of knowing where to go. Okay, so go ahead and just practice up using all the tools within the paragraph panel, taking a look at your bullets, your numbering, your indenting, your columns, your line spacing, and remember to go into all the extra options that you have available here, looking under the hood inside of your paragraph marker there, okay? And if you're feeling a little bit more ambitious, you can always check out your little dialog box launcher and see what other options are available for you here as well for a lot of these, okay? So we haven't really gotten into these more advanced things, but this is something that you can experiment with. It's something we might do in a future class, but I want to kind of lead you here in case you're feeling a little more ambitious. All right, so again, please pause the video, practice up, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Let's now discuss styles. In earlier lessons, we have kind of briefly touched on styles, and we've talked about how styles are derived from our initial design elements, talking about all the things with our fonts and our colors and all that stuff. But let's get a little bit deeper into styles. Now that we're kind of talking more about text and type design and font and all that stuff, let's talk about styles and kind of first define what a style is. A style, put very simply, is a saved format. Okay, so looking at this particular set of text here, you can see here, I have a a style, it says right here, story headline. You can see how it's formatted in such a way. It's pink, it's the size or whatever. Come over to here. You can see it's also here, here, and here. Remember, the kind of running theme throughout has been about consistency, right? And also a little bit of efficiency. So let's now see how this ties into our style panel here. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go over to my home tab and I'm going to go over here to styles. And I want you to notice there's this story headline. And you'll notice how there's a whole bunch of other preset styles that you can very, very easily apply. Okay, so just looking at this very simply, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this whole paragraph here, come to here, and then very simply, I want you to notice how this is now the title style, but I can come down here, I'm just going to make this heading 2, and then notice how that changes. Let's do it again. Let's bring this down to heading 1, and you can see how that changes, right? So it's a saved format, okay? So really easy, okay? So you can see how easy it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in another just plain text that's going to be here. All right. And I'm just going to say our family history. Okay. And when I click on that, I go over to your styles. You're going to see that the name of this style is just body copy. Even when something seemingly has no style at all, it actually still has a style associated with it. Okay. So that's pretty cool, right? So now let's go ahead and just choose that and look how easy it is for me to apply that style. Okay, so not only do we have consistency, but what's the other word? It starts with an E, efficiency. Okay, so look how cool it is, right? To be able to very, very quickly apply this, right? So across the board. Does this have a style? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Oh, it's a quote. Wow, who knew? Maybe I want to do another quote over here, right? So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just put in something else, right? Let me just go and move this up a little bit. Draw out a text box. Okay, great. And then here we're going to say grandma's famous quote. Okay, and then I don't know what it is right now, but right now I'm going to start it off. Okay, so kindness with compassion and truth. Okay, that's what grandma always said. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go back over to my home tab. I'm going to apply this from scratch because I want to be consistent with all the other quotes. And look at that. Perfect. I think the period should be inside there, if I'm not mistaken. That's what grandma would do. And you can see I have consistency and I've got efficiency because I'm able to apply this across the board. Okay. So styles are just so key to allow you to have that level of consistency across the board. Okay. Now, earlier we talked about the fact that you can also control your styles more globally by working with all your fonts here and then also creating new fonts. Okay. So go ahead and watch the earlier lessons to get some review on that. Now, what we're going to do next is come up with a situation where we say, listen, you know what? We're not doing this pink anymore. Right? It's like, oh man, yeah, I don't want to do that pink, but guess what? Like I've got it in how many places? It's going to take me forever to have to work with this now. Guess what? All I need to do is make a change to this right here, right? And I'm going to make this whatever color I choose. Okay. And I'm just going to make this maybe blue, right? It's a nice sweet color. Great. And then what I can do is go over to my styles again. I'm going to find that story headline and notice it's still pink, but guess what? I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say update to match selection. Choose that. And then guess what? Blue, 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 right? Everything that had the story headline style is now matched to what I set this up as. So it's really easy to make those changes. Let's try it a different way. I'm going to go over to here, back to my styles. I'm going to right click this time. And now I'm going to choose modify. I choose that. And this is going to come up with a whole bunch of options for me to work with, right? You can see here my font options, text effects, character spacing, right? The list goes on and on and on. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to font, for example. And this is going to give me a whole bunch of more advanced font options. Okay. So as an example, let's just say, hey, listen, we're going to do underline over every single one of these. Okay. And I'm going to make these in all caps. Okay, it's going to go across the board. Love that. Very cool. But just notice some other options like for number style and a few other ones here. Different fill effects if you want to do like a gradient or something like that. Lots of options there. Okay, so I'm going to go in and click OK. You can see it updates here. Click OK. And then what? Holy cow, look at that. Changed everywhere. Okay, consistency and efficiency. It is pretty awesome, right? So really, really love this. Okay, now sometimes you're going to be doing something totally from scratch, and that's when you would just make your own style. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just do one. Let's just say right here, right? And I'll just call this one, you know, footnote. All right, and then I can call it whatever I want, but because I don't really care about it is I want this to be kind of smaller and italic, and that's really all they're going to be. Now I'm going to make a new style based off of this, right? So I've created here on the front end. Then I'm going to go over here to my styles panel, come down here to say new style. And then I'm just going to call this footnote, right? Call it whatever you want. Okay, but I'm going to call that footnote. That's great. You can see there it's giving me a nice little overview of what is in this, right? In terms of my size and the variation on there, line spacing. Of course, you can change all those things if you want right here. Totally up to you. Okay, and then I click OK. Notice it says footnote. Okay, there that is. That's great. And then let's do another one right here. Okay, footnote. And guess what? It is not the right size that I want. So I go over here to styles and you can see we're going to need to find footnote somewhere in here. Let's go alphabetically. There it is. And wonderful. Okay. And you can probably guess if I wanted to make some changes to this across the board, I can do it in one of those two ways I showed you, including going to modify. Okay. So styles are your best friend. It is something that most people choose to ignore, whether you're in Word or any of the other programs that actually incorporate styles. I highly recommend you incorporate this into your everyday use, no matter how great or small your projects are, because it will save you a ton of time because it's about efficiency, and it will also make all your documents look great and well styled because guess what? Because of consistency. All right. Pause the video, maybe take out one of your own documents and put this to use. All right, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to put a background on all your pages. Super easy to do. So all we're going to do now is go over to our page design tab, and we're going to look over here on the far right, and you're going to see I choose background, and you're going to see I have all kinds of different colors I can choose. And of course, I have more background colors I can choose. So let's just go ahead and maybe choose this light green color. And you can see, bam, there it is. And it now adds to this page. Let's do it again. Go to background. Let's go to more background. And you can see here, I have different options. I can say no fill, solid color fill, gradient. Notice what that does. Gradient, by definition, is going to be one color that sort of flows or evolves into another color, which goes into another color. So you can see what a gradient is going to allow us to do is then say, listen, this is going to go from a light pink, and you can see how it's getting darker and darker to match this color, a little bit darker, and then going a little bit lighter. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. And you can see it now accomplishes that goal, right? Let's go ahead and do that one more time with a gradient. Or we can actually customize it. I don't necessarily want pink. Maybe I'm going to do kind of a blue color. So I click on that. This is known as a gradient stop. And you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and choose maybe a different color. I'm going to go from like light blue, click on that again, choose my little paint bucket. I'm going to go maybe to a little bit darker blue, come to here. Okay, and then go a little bit more there. And then come a little bit lighter again. Okay, however, I want this kind of spaced out a bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this over here, okay, and then, all right, kind of like that. And you'll also notice that a few other things I could be doing. Notice here you have the different types of gradients. What do you mean by that? Either a linear gradient or a different path, meaning you can kind of control which direction, like this is going into that, right? So you can actually tell it kind of which direction you want it to go in, right? So you'll be able to control that after the fact. Let's go ahead and just say linear. Angle, which angle is my color coming in? So I'm just going to go ahead and just say 90 degrees, kind of a little more straight on, right? And I'm pretty much good to go. And there you have it, going from light blue to darker to way darker, okay? So kind of nice to be able to create some things like that. All right, so let's go over here to this page. Notice it did not apply. So I can go over to here, go to more backgrounds. So from here, I can say a picture, right? So I can actually have a picture in the background if I wanted to. Okay, so let's just go ahead and take a look at something from here. So let's go into one of my pictures that we have for our class files. All right, and then let's just choose, let's see, the Earth. Okay, I do that. And it's in there, right? Can't really see it. But what I want to do is I kind of want to make it a little bit more transparent. Can't really see it. Click OK. And you'll see, okay, it's kind of a nice subtle look there. Not the best image, but maybe you just want to have a picture of grandma or something like that, right back there if you wanted to do that, okay? So really it's nice to be able to have that option if you wanted to. Let's bring this up so it's just like barely visible, okay? And then you can see you can offset it as well, you know, if you wanted to kind of come in a little bit more or come out a little bit more, okay? So let's try that, click OK, and you can see very nice, okay? So it's a little bit away from the top, doesn't dominate so much, and it's a little bit lighter, okay? But it's part of the background now, you know, which is really nice. Again, very subtle and very easy to implement. Okay, let's go back here one more time. And you'll take a look here at some other options, patterns. Some of these patterns can be just maybe a little bit much, right? So it's up to you. You just want to play around with them, okay? So I'll just do like this nice little kind of polka dot. And then note that you can change the color, like the foreground and the background. So my foreground, I'm just going to make that very light right there. And then let's go back to our favorite color, pink. But again, a light pink. Click OK. And you'll see very subtle. There it is, right? Kind of fun. And good. I like it. Not a bad place to live, right? So that's how you bring in backgrounds, okay? Really a nice tool, surprisingly easy to implement and surprisingly pleasant to the eyes when done right. Okay, pause the video, practice that, and we'll see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to continue on with our discussion about our building blocks, but we're going to go into a few different, more kind of like off the shelf, but nonetheless really important, very valuable tools. We have over here our page parts, and we also have these things called advertisements. Okay, so page parts, these are basically just like off the shelf, really nice looking elements that you can just bring in and just pop in your own content, right? So you can see here we have headings, pull quotes, sidebars, stories, all kinds of really nice looking things. They're going to allow you to then just say, listen, this is what I'm going to put in for my content. So let's just start off with one of these sidebars. I click on that, and then just like that, it pops in as one big group as now a sidebar. So if I wanted to change this, I can very easily change this, right? So notice, remember I talked about double clicking. If you double click, that now takes me to my picture format. And this is going to allow me to do a whole bunch of things here, including, right, it's changing my pictures and doing all that good stuff here. Now, of course, I don't want this picture, so I can very easily right click and say change picture, and then bring in my own picture if I want to. All right, so this time I'm going to use one of my Bing searches, okay, and I'm going to type out bunny. This time I'm going to put a little bunny in there and see what pops up, and that is the cutest bunny I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and then wait for it. Wow, so cool, goes right in there, and then I can put in my text, bunny 2022, okay, and then there you have it. Like, holy cow, this looks really cool, really quick. So I can also resize it if I want to. Let's do that, see what that does. maybe make it a little bit wider. Cool. So now it's gotten even more kind of prominent on the page. Okay, so very cool. So how did I get there? Again, all I did was use one of these page parts. And the process is more or less going to be the same across the board, right? So let's just start off with a heading. Okay, so I'll just do this one. And I'm going to come over to here. This will be my heading. This will be my sidebar. Okay, and let's make this a little bit wider. See how everything now just flows right into place. Okay, and I'm going to say Bunny Fancy. Okay, and then this is going to be summer 2022. And look at that. Like, I just saved myself a ton of time having to draw some things out, even try to come up with something creative. And I did that very easily by working with these page parts. Maybe you want to try a few other things. Here's some pull quotes, right? You have these other nice little stories with these little matrices. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, and this is pretty much like up to you how you want to try these out. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and do one more. You can see that comes in here very easily. Change your text to whatever you want it to be. Move it around however you want. Okay, and the last part we're going to do is go to, guess what? The more page parts. You've heard me talk about that and encourage that. Really, really always take the bait, go to more, and you're going to see, okay, look at this. Here is a whole bunch of other kind of headings. Here's a bunch of pull quotes. Here's a bunch of what? Reply forms, sidebars, stories, holy cow, table of contents. And guess what? Let's go ahead and click on all. And then, man, this is so generous. Just unbelievable how much is available. And it's all customizable, okay? For you, by you. So we'll go ahead and close that out. Come back to here. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and insert a new page, right? And after the current page, I'm gonna go ahead and do blank. And there's that. And let's just do the advertisement. Very similar, but you can see how we have all of these kind of just like more graphical things, more sort of monochromatic, but this could be kind of fun. You choose this one. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And then notice this is actually a shape and a text box inside of this. Okay, so I'll just say vote. Okay, just like that. Nice, and that fits right in. Just notice I can also select this, go to my shape format, change my color, my shape. Wonderful, look at that. And I'm all good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out another one. Insert, advertisement, and you'll see, okay, some of these are just like pre-built. Check it out. What do you want to do there? Okay, kind of on the nose with something that's very specific to something, but you can very easily change all these. But it's a nice little layout. Put your logo in there, whatever you want to do. Again, let's go over to here now to more advertisements. Let's see what's available. And holy cow, so many more things that I do not have to design or create because they're all available for me, right? All done and very easily to execute and customize. All right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so pause the video, practice that, give thanks to the publisher gods for all their generosity, and we'll see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to insert tables and also how to modify your tables to make them look pretty and presentable. Okay, so right now we're looking at this document, and this, believe it or not, is a table. So this table has some nice functionality to it with some fill colors. We can see we have every other row is a different color. You can see how we have this as a heading. This is also kind of a heading, but for the rows. Okay, and you'll also note that this is something that's allowing us to merge this into one. So let's just see what we can do. I'm going to try to recreate this. Okay, just so we kind of look at this, but this is just, a simple one, but the process is pretty much going to be the same across the board, whether it's, 7 rows, 3 rows, 7 columns, whatever. All right, so let's go ahead and just go over here to insert. And then right underneath the word insert is table. And you're going to see how we have all these little kind of boxes here. Notice this is going to allow me to do 4 columns by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, whatever you want to do. Okay, in our case, we're just going to do 2 by 3. Okay, and then this is going to come up, and you're going to see I can then move this wherever I want. I can also resize it, doing however I want to. Okay, now if you don't like that way of actually bringing the table, you can do it this way as well. Insert table, and you can just say insert table, and you can just tell it exactly what you want. So you can say, all right, I want to do 2 rows, and I want to do, that's what I'm going to do, sorry, 3 rows. I'm going to do 2 columns. Okay, and you're going to get pretty much the same thing, and you're going to have the same kind of functionality to be able to resize it however what you like. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Don't want that because I'm going to work off of this one. All right, so I'm just going to start filling in some content. Now, the first thing I want you to notice here is that I do have a new contextual tab, and I have another one right here, all having to do with the table. See that? My table design and my layout of my table design. So we're going to be exploring all the different elements within this. First thing I'm going to start off with is my table design, so I can add a little bit of color and some texture to it. So I click on this, and you're going to see here I have all kinds of different things I can do. So let's just go ahead and just choose blue, and very nice, right? Pretty cool, allows me to do that really nice stuff there. And now I'm just going to just change this to open house. Great. And then here, let's make it September 1st. And this will be September, can't type, September 7th. Okay, great. And there you have it, right? Super easy. And I got the whole thing selected. Now I said, you know what? I don't really like that color anymore. Let's actually go to orange. Nice. Let's go to gray. Nice. Let's go back to this yellow color. Let's go to this one. Okay, great. Oh, look, and that matches that. What do you know? All right. Now let's go ahead and resize this so it's a little bit bigger. Let's resize it so it's a little bit wider. And let's also now change the font size. So this is going to be a little more like a heading. Now earlier I talked about how when you highlight it, you get this nice little floating toolbar, and that's what I'm going to use and make that nice and big. All right, I'm going to highlight both of these. Notice what I'm doing, just clicking and dragging over these, right? And this does not show up for that because it's an entire cell and not the actual font. So I got to go back to home, and I'm going to bump this up. Very nice. And it's looking pretty good. All right. Now, let's go back to our design tab, and you'll see that there's a number of different ways for me to potentially customize this if I want to, right? So you can customize the fill color of something. If you want this to be a little bit of a different fill color, you can do that, right? So it's going to be a little different. So this will be a different fill color if I wanted this whole thing to be yellow, if you wanted to do that, right? So you can actually customize it outside of these preset formats if you want to. You also have these really neat word art styles, right? Which we haven't talked about too much. This will give us a really good opportunity to do that. You also have these options for drop caps, which we haven't really talked about either, right? So this is a good opportunity for us to kind of dovetail into that discussion about drop caps inside of paragraphs. Okay, so, but let's now just work a little bit more on what we can do for this kind of more titly looking thing. And that's going to be really good when we're working with big titles, this word art style. So let's go ahead and make this nice and big, right? Because word art plays really nice with bigger text. So you're going to see here, I have all kinds of presets. So what's a good one? Let's just choose that one. Click away. Pretty cool. Let's try another one. Click away. Okay, a little hard to read, especially on top of the black, but we know how we can change that really easily. Let's try that one. Kind of looks a little bit like it's kind of embedded in there. Not too bad, a little more subtle. Okay, now you do have other options here, right? Like the text fill, like you can customize what it's going to look like on the inside with different colors. The text outline, right? Let me actually just do like a little kind of a pink outline around that. And if I zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see, okay, now it's giving a little bit of texture there, right? And you have different effects you can do, a shadow, reflection, a glow, holy cow. So much you can do that brings us back to where we were before, right, with our images, okay? And we can now do them with our text, okay? So but I want it to be now merged across here. So that's why I'm going to go over here to my layouts. Okay, whoa, lots of options here. Think about the design as basically like how you want your sort of like house to be decorated, right? Like your painting and your furniture and, you know, the art on the walls and all that stuff. Well, your layout is like the architecture of your house, right? The engineering of it all, okay? So notice what some options are here. For inserting rows and columns below and to the left and right, okay? Alignment options are all gonna be here, okay? And look at that, all grayed out, but very valuable is gonna be merging cells and also splitting cells. All right, so let's just see what we can do here. I want to merge this together all in one. So I'm gonna highlight all my cells here, just these two. Merge cells is now lit up. And guess what? It's now one cell, but I want to make this so it's gonna be aligned in the center. So if I click on that, that's aligned in the center of the top. But now I'm gonna go over to here, and then you can see how that just kind of dipped down a little bit. Now it's perfectly centered. I love that, and I want this too. Let's go ahead and make that left aligned, but centered vertically. Okay, love that. Okay, now I have lots of nice control around this. Okay, so there's going to be way more open house events that I need to deal with here, right? So I need to add on more rows. A couple of different ways I can do this, right? Number one, I can go ahead and just say insert below. You can see that. See, it just keeps adding them. That's nice. I want to get rid of them. I can just say delete rows, and that deletes it. Okay. Another way you can do it is to simply just keep hitting tab, and then it'll just continually add them on one after another. And then finally, you can also just simply highlight and then right click, and then guess what? Insert, and then insert below or above. So I'm going to go ahead and just say insert below, and now pretty cool. This table is really starting to come together. All right, now I don't really like this color, so I'm going to go ahead and change that because my text is kind of getting hard to read. Okay, and maybe I don't need that as a heading so much, so I can go to there. Okay, that's a little bit better, and I do need to center this though, so that's again a nice easy fix. And voila, pretty great. Tables are amazing, and guess what? If you're going to use this over and over again, let's harken back to where we were before, to our guess what? Page parts. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this, and I'm going to say save as building block. And I'm just going to call this open house table. Okay, that's great. Great. Keep it as is. Click OK. And then later on, I'm about to go to another document. Let's check it out. And I don't want to have to create that ever again. That took me way too long, and it was painstaking. Go to insert, page parts, and holy cow, look at that. In general, and also recently used, there this is. Oh my God, that just saved me so much time. Okay. Okay, so you can see coming roundabout with all these different tools, creating tables, and then finally saving it as a building block page part you can come back to over and over and over again. All right, so pause the video, practice this, have fun, and really rejoice. This is a pretty great program, and use it creatively, and we'll see you in the next lesson. And welcome back, everybody. In this lesson, we are going to talk about linking, hyperlinks, and linking text, linking images, and all kinds of different linking capabilities within Publisher. So let's say, for example, I have a website here that I want to link, right? So right now, this is just text, but I want to make it so when somebody clicks on it, it goes to our family.com website. So pretty easy to do. We're just going to simply highlight it just like that. And you're going to go over to here to where it says link inside of the insert tab. Click on that, and you're going to see here, this takes us to this dialog box for insert hyperlink. Now, there's a lot of things you can link to here. So if we study this dialog box, you can see here we have link to an existing file or web page, which is where we're at right now. a place in this document, which we're going to explore in another chapter, create a new document altogether, an email address. Maybe you want to say, hey, click on this, and then suddenly their default email address will open up. Okay, so lots of options here, including the option to do bookmarks. And again, that's what we're going to do in another chapter. So very simply, all I'm going to do is just type out www, and then look at that, ourfamily.com appears. Okay, and then if you click on the drop-in, it might show you some previous ones that you've gone to in the past. And then if you need to, add in maybe an S in there, make sure that it is secure. And I click OK. And just like that, that is an actual link. Okay, so that's how you link text. Super easy. Okay, now let's say you wanted to link an image. Okay, you can click on that and you can go over here to link. Now, another really nice way to do this is to right click, right? So if I click on this right now, notice there's an option down here for hyperlink, right? So I click on that and I get the same deal here, right? So www, oh, and look at that, what's waiting there for me. Okay, and I'll just add that on there and click OK. And that is going to be a link. So when I publish it, this will be clickable. Okay, so pretty cool, pretty easy to do. Okay, now let's just do one more here where I'm just going to say, put in our email address, right? So just go ahead and make this a little bit taller. Okay, and then info@ourfamily.com. All right, so let's go ahead and just highlight that. Come over here to the Insert tab, go over to here to Link, and then this time I'm going to say email address. Now this is pretty neat because then I can just go ahead and just type that out, info@ourfamily, and I probably could have highlighted that and copied it as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and just say subject, okay, and then I'll just say inquiry from newsletter. Okay, and that'll automatically populate within the subject line. All right, so just notice what's happening here. Instead of the HTTP and the www, it just says mail to : and that automatically populates for me. Okay, and also notice there's no spaces there. All right, I click OK, and then it looks the same as a regular hyperlink, but when somebody clicks on it, the computer is going to know to then launch to your default email program. Okay, so pretty slick. All right, so go ahead and practice that, creating hyperlinks to text, also hyperlinks on images, and then also clicking on something to make it a hyperlink to launch to an email address. All right, pause the video, practice that, and we'll see you in the next lesson. In the last lesson, we talked about how we can create links that will take us to external destinations like websites and also emails. But in this lesson, we're going to talk about how we can link within the document. Okay, so that's going to be bookmarks, but it's also going to be particular pages, right? And a variety of different things. All right, so let's just say, for example, I wanted to just say, hey, listen, you know what? We're going to kind of give people maybe a table of contents here, right? You can see you can go from here to here to here to be able to do that, right? So let me just go ahead and highlight this, and I'm going to say link right here. Now, you'll notice that there is this section here that I talked about in the earlier lesson, place in this document, okay? Now, I want you to notice that it says here, page numbers and names. In an earlier lesson, we talked about naming our pages, right? So you'll notice that 2 of these actually have names, right? And the rest of them do not, right? So there's no coincidence that this actually says cover page. This says section 1. This says da-da-da, all that stuff. And these don't have any names at all, right? So if I were to click on this now, I could actually change the title of this if I wanted to right now. And I could just say this is going to be section 2, right? I click on that and you'll see, great. That says that there for me, right? But earlier we talked about the ability to right click on the thumbnail of the page and also rename the page as well. So go ahead and review that if you want some review on that. All right, but I want this to go directly to that when somebody clicks on it. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Wonderful, that's great. So you pretty much have like a built-in bookmark just by virtue of the fact that the page actually is the page, right? Name, okay? So again, let me just go ahead and right click on this. I'm going to say, rename, and you can see there is the name, section 1, page 2. Okay, so in case you need some review on that. All right, so now this becomes a link, and it's going to take me to the page itself. Okay, so again, once I publish this, I'll be able to see that. Now, let's say I wanted to go to just a particular part of the page. Notice this says section 2, but I don't necessarily want them to go to like the page. I want them to go to a particular part of the page. That's where bookmarking comes in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create the destination, right? I'm actually going to be a little bit more kind of specific about where I want people to go. So I have to tell publisher where that destination is going to be. I know it's a little bit unusual, but it's basically we're kind of creating an anchor for where it should go when I say, please bookmark this, right? So I'm going to highlight this. Now I'm going to go over to insert. I'm going to say bookmark, right? Everybody see where it says bookmark here now, all right? When I choose that, it's going to ask me to then just name the bookmark, right? Again, it's just going to be based off of this name that I'm going to create, right? So I'm just going to say section 2, and I'll just say BM for bookmark so I can make the distinction. Click on add, and now you can see there it is, right? That's where it's going to go. So let's come back full circle. I'm going to come over to here this time, and I'm going to say link, and then this time I'm going to say existing file or web page, and then bookmark. Do you see that? I click on that, and guess what? There it is right there, section 2 BM, right? So it's an actual bookmark within this, right? So just notice I can actually have several bookmarks, even just on one page if I wanted to. So it really allows for that kind of complexity and kind of user experience that's going to be a little bit more kind of nuanced, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Click OK again, and then notice how there's a little hashtag here, by the way. And then just also notice that if I go to place in document, I can get there as well, by the way, right? So you can go through bookmarks. You can go through place in document if you wanted to as well, okay? And just note that you could also just type it in. If you want to just kind of do the hashtag and type it in, do your own coding, that's fine. You're going to get the same exact result. Pretty cool, okay? And now you're going to see, fantastic. That is now pretty much accomplishing the same thing, but it's going to go directly to that section to where that bookmark is. All right. So that's links, right? Pretty cool, pretty slick. Definitely giving you a little more user experience, outside of just kind of a plain old document, allowing people to click around, click inside, click outside, email, do all that good stuff. All right, so pause the video, practice that, and we'll see you in the next lesson. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are now at the final section where we are going to publish and print our document. So let's go through the steps of what needs to be done. First thing you want to do is click on File and go to Info, believe it or not, because it's a great idea to run this design checker. So if we read this here, it says, use the design checker to find potential problems in your publication before printing, sending an email, or saving with Pack and Go, which we're going to be doing in just a little bit. So what does that look like? Well, let's click on it to find out. I click on that and this little engine runs. You can see on the right-hand side, I have the little design checker, and it's basically allowing me to see if there's any potential problems in the document here. You can see, oh, wait a second, there are certain things that are not visible. Uh-oh, I need to fix these things. Uh-oh, and maybe the master page, right? There's something going on with that. An object is partially off the page. Huh, well, let me actually check that out and see what's going on here. A text box is empty on master page A. Okay, well, good. I'm glad it told me that, right? Maybe there's something else here. There's something that's not visible that I need to play around with, right? So of course, this is a template. So not something I created, but I know there are certain things that I do know I did create. So let me go ahead and check that out. Go over to here to my master page. I'm going to click on View and choose Scratch Area. Ah, okay, I can see the issue there, right? Okay, so now let me just kind of bring that in a little bit, bring this in a little bit, right? And then let me just see what's happening there. Okay, and then come right to the edge, kind of using my arrow keys to just kind of nudge it, nudge it, nudge it. Okay, excellent. And now there it is. And if I click on this little here, okay, I can go ahead and just say never run this check again. Good. Now it's not going to bother me anymore, right? Even though it's like, all right, it might not be exactly perfect, but it's like, you know what? Don't bother me about this. Okay, and there's a text box in here someplace, right? I need to find where that text box is. There it is. Okay, get rid of that. And now look at that. Now I got a little green check right there, right? So it's like, okay, cool. And then it goes away on its own. So it's incredibly valuable to run this, right? Just to make sure that like, hey, is anything going on here? And it's actually going to do the work for me. Now, if you come way down to the bottom, you see you have this design checker options. You can actually see the kind of things, how you want it to be presented and what checks did you actually want, right? So it's pretty great. You can control all these things to say, hey, listen, you know what? Don't tell me about any of these things. If a picture's missing or whatever, I got it. Don't give me any of this extra stuff here. All right, so okay, cool. This is fine with me, right? Click OK. I'm going to close this out and then get out of the master. And now that I've done that, I can feel confident that everything's going to be hunky-dory, A-OK, right? So let me also go back to here. I'm going to turn off the scratch area so I don't see anything else that may be off the page. Okay, good. Now I'm ready to start doing my publishing, right? My exporting. So if you click over to here, you're going to see where we have export. Now, I could very easily just export this as a PDF if you want to, right? You're good to go, right? I click on that, and then it's going to be a PDF. Okay, so I'm just going to say newsletter, right? 2022. Great, that's going to be there. And I click publish, and that's done. Okay, and that's pretty much all you got to worry about. But let me just go ahead and step further with this. I'm going to go back to export, click on that. And just notice how they actually give you other options for how you want to actually publish it. Okay, so if you don't really care, you do the first step. But if you really, really want to kind of control kind of size and certain elements, you can absolutely change this. So I click on options here. And then notice you can change the size of it, right? If it's coming in way too big, you want to email it, you can make it smaller. If you know for sure you're going to print it out and it has to be the highest quality of images and everything, go over to here to commercial press. This is going to give you the opportunity to downsample, right? More specifically on your images. Okay, so like if it's a certain DPI, you want it to come down lower, right? So then the file size will then be lower. Okay, and then here's another option here for your design checker, right? And then include non-printing information, right? Your document properties and all that stuff. I probably don't want that, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, there are some times you want to do this PDF archive compliant. Potentially that's going to come up for you depending on what your printer needs. You can do all that stuff, right? Then I'm going to go over here to my print options. And you can set all these things up however you want it to be published, right? How you want it to be printed. Do you want to have your crop marks there? Do you want to allow bleeds, right? We talked about bleeds in an earlier lesson about coming way, way, way close to the edge, right? So when you send it to a printer, they should have the ability to really print all the way to the edge. Do you want to see those bleed marks? You can turn those on or not, okay? And then again, like I said, you can also say which pages you want to be printed or not. All right, so let me just go ahead and just say okay and say okay. And then let's just go ahead and override this one with whatever settings I had. I'm going to say yes. Okay, and then that will be a PDF. So let's just go ahead and just check that out first of all. See that it's going to be there. And then we'll see, here's my newsletter example. It's going to open up as a PDF. That's wonderful. And guess what? There are my links right there. Fantastic. And that's going to open up to my default email program. I click on this. That is going to open up to a website. And guess what? I click on this. Guess where it's going to take me? To section 1. How cool is that? All right, so maybe that's where you stop and maybe that's enough for you, right? But let's just go a step further, potentially that you need to go to the pack and go section, right? And that's typically you're going to be packaging it with the publisher file as well, okay? And then some other kind of coding in the background. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to File. I'm going to say Export. And you're going to see here, there's this Save for Commercial Printer. Okay, and you can see here, prepare your publication for commercial printing by selecting the file quality and file type appropriate for your printer. Saving with commercial press quality provides your printer with the most flexibility in preparing your publication for print. Other quality settings will provide smaller file sizes if needed, right? So you can see here, we'll have different options here, high quality, kind of what we saw earlier. Okay, and then what do you want to be packaged, right, or packed? right? Both PDF and the publisher file, just a PDF or just the publisher. Okay, so if your printer actually has publisher, they can make some quick changes if they actually have both of them together. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. So let's go ahead and just choose that. It's going to ask me where do I want it to go, right? So I'm going to go here into our class folder. Click next. It's doing its magic. And I'm going to just unclick that, click OK. And then guess what? I'm going to come back to our class folder, and you're going to see now I actually have a zip folder. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's what it does. So you'll have to extract it or unzip it to see all the content, but check it out. There it is, publication and publication, just like that. All right, so let me go ahead and just extract this. And now I should have two of these, one that's a zip and one that is not. And then when I click on that, you're going to see, bam, there it is. There's my PDF and there's my publisher file. So if I open up that PDF, it's going to look exactly like the one we saw a few minutes ago. And very easily, bam, click on that. You can see, looks really slick, looks exactly how I... Okay, and that's that. So pretty easy to do, right? So Publisher really does most of the heavy lifting. Now, if you're just planning to actually just print it yourself, by the way, and you just want to print it, it's pretty straightforward. Just click on File and choose Print. Okay, and you can see here it's going to give you, the name of your printer, right? You're going to see there what do you want to print, how many pages you want to print, all that good stuff, how many copies you want. Just anything that you may have seen with other print dialog boxes, but you can see how they give you maybe potentially different types of printing options that you might want to explore. You can see here, we get a nice little booklet preview. Okay, so you can see of all these different options depending on what you want to do. And this is kind of a good idea in case you are going to be doing like a trifold or something like that. You can kind of get a good idea of what it's going to look like before you actually print it. So it'll show you there. Okay. Then you'll see down the bottom, this is an 11 by 17, right? So it's all set up to do that. All right, let me go ahead and change this back here. It's going to go back to that, okay? Or up to you, right? So just kind of play around with the view that you want to do. All right, let's go back to letter. All right, good, and there we are, okay? So definitely something you'll be doing often, just to even like get an idea of what it's going to look like before you actually print it yourself. Okay, so let's come back here to our main document and celebrate. You have made it to the end of the class. Congratulations. Lots of good stuff here. I think Publisher really has a lot more than meets the eye. So glad you chose this program. Glad you joined us in this class, and have fun and good luck. And congratulations, everyone. You made it to the other side. Isn't Publisher amazing? Again, way more than meets the eye. So what did we cover in this class? We started off covering some of the basics, right? Understanding what Publisher can do for us. We took a look at some templates behind the scenes. We were able to even customize the workspace for ourselves, working with the quick access toolbar, working with our ribbon. We also did a lot with images and text in terms of formatting, creating styles, working with our different design themes. Then we went a little bit deeper with master pages. And remember the adage, consistency and efficiency. That's why we use our styles. That's why we use all of our different style themes, and also our master pages we covered, again, for consistency and efficiency. We also worked with tables. We did a nice little deep dive into working with links and bookmarks so we can actually navigate not only outside of our document, but also internally. We also went into how to publish our documents, how to actually make it into a PDF, how to do our pack and go, how to use our design checker to make sure there's no glaring errors. So fantastic. Congratulations. So happy for you. Put this to good use and give Publisher a good name, the good name that it does deserve. All right, have fun, everyone, and good luck.